8? Okay. All right, good evening. I am going to call to order the regular meeting of the Folsom City Council for Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Council members Aquino.
Here.
Chalem-Cherla. Here. Rodriguez.
Here.
Rohrbach.
Here.
And Kozlowski.
Also here, and if everybody would please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. So we are going to start out with business from the floor this evening. We have a couple of requests to speak, but just as a reminder, this is an opportunity for people to address the City Council on topics that are not already on the agenda tonight. So if you'll please call up our speakers.
Okay, our first speaker tonight will be Sean Martin, and Sean will be followed by Wendy Soul and Janelle Marion.
Welcome, Sean.
Good evening, council members, city staff, and community. My name is Sean Martin. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Business Service for Folsom Cordova Unified School District. And I am here today actually on behalf of the district to start kind of what we're calling a sunshine campaign. We are wanting to reach out to our colleagues in our city level and community level to just share about some of the highlights that are going on in Folsom Cordova Unified School District, and specifically here, the schools in Folsom. And so in a few minutes, Wendy Soul, our principal from Goldridge Elementary, is actually going to share about her wonderful garden program. And so we hope to make this a recurring event and hopefully get out smiling faces and talk about how great our schools are here in Folsom. I do have a couple of interesting tidbits about our district at the district level. First, I'd like to share that we have, the board is very proud to announce that they have selected a new superintendent to replace our outgoing retired superintendent, Dr. Sarah Collegian. His name is Eric Swanson. And he will be starting on July 1st. I know that he is already being, and his team is reaching out to Folsom Cordova staff, or Folsom City staff to schedule a meet and greet and start some introductory. And so we're excited to have him joining us. He actually currently serves as the senior advisor at the California Collaboration for Educational Excellence, working with school districts and county offices throughout the state. Prior to that, he has also been the assistant superintendent in Stockton Unified and the superintendent of St. Hope Public Schools, which is in Sac City Unified School District. So a couple other exciting events, as you may know. Next week is the end of the school year on Thursday, the 28th, or I'm sorry, the 23rd. And a couple of events that we have with regards to graduations. Folsom High's graduation will be on Thursday, the 23rd at 7 p.m. And Vista de Lagos will be on the 24th at 6 p.m. Both of those will actually be live streamed as well for those that can't come and appear in attendance through Folsom TV, which is available on YouTube. And so those will be available and recorded for people to watch at a later date. And then also, I know it seems short, but on August 8th, we will actually start school year back up. So please enjoy your summer break. And we are very excited to open our newest elementary school, Alder Creek. And so I know we'll be reaching out, our communications department will be reaching out about a ribbon cutting ceremony for that event as well. So thank you so much for having us tonight, and hopefully we can make this a recurring event.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin.
Okay, our next speaker, it looks like a combination of Wendy Soul and Janelle Marion, and they will be followed by Susan Spielman.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Kozlowski and members of the Folsom City Council. I'm Wendy Saul. I'm the proud principal at Goldridge Elementary.
And I'm Janelle Marion, the proud creator of Garden Grow. We're here to share an exciting initiative taking root at Goldridge Elementary, the Garden Grow program. This program encompasses a multifaceted approach to education, sustainability, and community engagement, and we believe it aligns closely with the values and goals of our city.
So Garden Grow at Goldridge Elementary goes beyond traditional gardening initiatives. While it certainly cultivates fresh produce for our students, staff, and the community to enjoy, it also serves as an outdoor classroom where students engage in writing, phonics, math, and hands-on learning opportunities. By integrating curriculum-based activities into the garden setting, we provide students with immersive educational experiences that foster a deep understanding of various subjects while nurturing a love for the unique diversity of nature and the environment.
Additionally, the Garden Grow program promotes social emotional development and a sense of responsibility and respect for our school campus. Through tending to the garden and participating in beautification projects, students learn the importance of caring for their surroundings and develop a strong sense of ownership and pride in their school environment. One of the most valuable aspects of this program is its focus on food literacy. Students not only learn where their food comes from, but they also gain an insight into the process of growing and harvesting food from seed to market. This firsthand experience instills a deeper appreciation for healthy eating habits and sustainability practices.
So one of the most exciting and unique parts of our Garden Grow at our school is that it's designed to be self-funding and self-sustaining. By offering seedling starters and harvested produce to the community via our donation-based market, we're able to generate revenue to support the program's ongoing operation and expansion, while also raising funds for programs and events at our school. Our goal is to provide every student with a seed of opportunity, ensuring equitable access to hands-on learning that enhance classroom instruction and promote academic successes. So here's what a few of our teachers wanted to share about what this program has meant for them and to the students at our school.
The garden experience has given students a newfound sense of connection, pride, and ownership of the school. This experience has opened up new doors for conversations as far as caring for our plants and expecting others to respect our plants too. Many science and social emotional learning components are wrapped into one for this project. Thank you so much, Lorraine Fowler.
This has been a wonderful experience for all of us. It's heartwarming to see the smiles on our children's faces when they see something they've planted bloom and grow. Thank you, Darlene Kunstl.
Your program has been the most amazing. The students love you and they love to listen to your kind words and tone toward growing plants. Thank you so much for all of this, Mary Marin.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up because we're almost out of time. So we believe the utilizations of the Garden Grow program at Goldridge Elementary exemplifies a spirit of innovation, education, and community collaboration that Folsom prides itself on. So we invite you to come experience our Garden Grow program in person. We'd love to see you on our campus and explore how we can grow together and work together to cultivate a brighter future for our students and for our community. So thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, our next speaker will be Susan Spielman. Susan will be followed by Peggy Plett.
Welcome.
Hi. You know how nervous this all makes me. But yes, it's me again. And I am representing the Folsom City Zoo Sanctuary and its docents tonight. I'll try not to waste your time and stay within the time limit and not be redundant. So it's pretty obvious that I care a lot about the Zoo Sanctuary. Its animal residents, its 60-year plus history, and its mission of educating residents and visitors, especially the school kids. They're a lot of fun. And educating them about the wildlife in its care and in the surrounding areas. But this doesn't mean that's all I care about. I am a Folsom resident. A city or any community is the sum of its parts, and it takes teamwork between the different departments to keep it moving forward and safe. I was really pleased to learn from last week's e-newsletter, I've been getting that, so yay, that the 1% special sales tax measure has qualified for the November ballot. That was quick, I think. I appreciate the city's efforts to provide information on the measure itself and more details on the city's website about how the city has been impacted by decreasing revenues and increasing costs. The special sales tax measure spreads that additional revenue that would be generated equitably among a variety of important needs. And that variety is what makes Folsom Folsom. We enjoy a lot of different programs. Often when my husband and I are asked if we'd consider living elsewhere, we respond, why? When Folsom has so much to offer. That's a no-brainer. So I'd like to share a little feedback with you. When we travel, we make a point of visiting other zoos and sanctuaries around the country, large, small, everything in between. It was gratifying to know that the Folsom Zoo is actually recognized for its work. I spoke at length with staff at the Santa Barbara Zoo, the Living Desert Zoo and Garden in Palm Desert, the Orange County Zoo, and a sanctuary in Arizona, all who were very aware of the existence of our zoo here. Several of them had already visited, and others had it on their list of places to go when they were next in California. Some of them actually remembered our zookeeper, Lee Houts, from years ago, who was instrumental and well-known for her animal enrichment ideas for use by smaller facilities, including ours. In closing, those were the words you wanted to hear, huh? I hope we can all agree that we have a very special asset in the form of our local zoo sanctuary, and definitely a part of what makes Folsom the great city that it is, and destination for that matter. As you review the annual budget that you'll vote on next month, I believe, please protect our unique Folsom asset. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Peggy Plett.
Good evening. My name is Peggy Plett, and I stand before you tonight wearing 3 hats. First, full disclosure, I've been a resident of a neighboring community since 1994, and Sacramento County since 1976. But I am a California girl at heart and was born and raised in the Central Valley. Second, I have been a zoo docent since 2016 and president of the Docent Council since 2022. And third, I'm a member of the Friends of the Folsom Zoo Board and have been a member since 2017 and board president since 2021. When I retired from state government in 2015, I really looked carefully. Ooh, 2025, that was way too young to retire. Okay. When I retired, I really looked carefully at volunteering experiences and opportunity, as saw an ad in the Sacramento Bee, of all places, for Folsom Zoo docents. I was intrigued, and I signed up for the very next class and started my second career. I immediately saw the benefit that this zoo sanctuary provides the surrounding community well beyond the borders of the Folsom city limits. I've toured hundreds of school children. I've helped scout troops earn their badges, and I've educated many on the importance of wild animals remaining wild and free. A sanctuary, or a safe place, offers an exceptional forum for learning, understanding, and respecting the natural world we live in. I realized what an asset this brings to the Folsom community, but also to the surrounding communities, where safe exposure to nature is more limited and is certainly not curated. A balanced community that adequately protects its residents with strong police and firefighters is important. But also important are the things that enrich the lives of residents and visitors. As an interested bystander who shops and eats in Folsom, I've been closely watching the sales tax initiative that is now qualified for the ballot. This measure equitably supports the greatest needs of the community at large and will protect the treasured amenities that make Folsom such a desirable destination. And I would urge you to give it your full support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, may I add just one thing? You'll see docents here today. They represent people from across the broader Folsom community and Sacramento County area, because that's who comes to our zoo sanctuary.
Very good. Thank you.
For all of them, one more time, for all docents.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. All right. We're going to move on to agenda updates. Do we have any?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 2 updates. First, staff has requested to pull agenda item 5 and take it off calendar. As a result, the council will only be taking action on consent items 6 through 16. And the second one is a correction. Regarding item 15, there's a typo in the first sentence of the financial impact section of the staff report. It should read, "The cost of replacing the instructional swimming pool heater chimney exhaust fan is proposed to be financed from the general funds, Fund 010 contingency budget."
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. All right, we're on to scheduled presentations.
Yes, so your first scheduled presentation this evening is item number 1. This is a proclamation of the mayor proclaiming May 2024 as National Water Safety and Drowning Prevention Month.
Yes. Reasonably sure the fire department's going to come get this, and Parks Department. You should hold that. There you go. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me for this one. This is exciting and important to the whole community and the wider community, to your point. This is a proclamation of the mayor of the city of Folsom proclaiming May 2024 as National Water Safety and Drowning Prevention Month. The Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing safe spaces for popular water activities and learn to swim programs at the Steve Miklos Aquatic Center. And the Folsom Parks and Recreation Department provides lifeguard services for all public swimming pool usage with certified and licensed lifeguards from Jeff Ellison Associates International Lifeguard Training, with the Steve Miklos Aquatic Center staff receiving exceeds and meets criteria in all categories during annual third-party audits, with more than 47,000 guests in attendance during the summer season. And each year, drowning incidents result in hundreds of emergency room visits, including hospital stays and potential life-altering and permanent disabilities of residents and visitors. And the California Department of Public Health reports that between 2016 and 21, 2,559 California residents lost their life from drowning. 1,168 were hospitalized, and 5,854 were treated in an emergency department for non-fatal water events. The City of Folsom recommends that parents and those with backyard swimming pools take a CPR and first aid course with skills and knowledge that can save lives. And the Folsom Parks and Recreation Department provides more than 1,770 individual swim lessons, conducting more than 390 classes from the C Squad Swim School. Thank you for that tongue twister. The C Squad Swim School Learn to Swim program for kids, teens, and adults to proactively educate, make individuals water smart and safe to prevent drownings. And the Folsom Fire Department responds to emergencies in our rivers, lakes, and open water environments, as well as residential and community swimming pools annually, and urges residents to educate themselves on home water safety, boating safety, and personal watercraft safety to prevent injuries and drownings, and to always wear a life jacket. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Michael D. Kozlowski, Mayor of the City of Folsom, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as National Water Safety and Drowning Prevention Month. So proclaim this 14th day of May 2024. Here we go. Would you like to make some comments? Anybody like to comment? Additional water safety tips?
Yeah.
Yeah, we at the fire department would also like to remind our community members that we have a life vest borrowing program. So at any time, any day of the week, 7 days a week, residents can come to our Fire Station 35 at 535 Glen Drive, and they can borrow a life vest. We have all sizes available. It's at no cost to you, and you can keep it as long as you like. We just ask that you do return it at some point, clean and serviceable for the next person to use.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you all.
And
Excellent. One more round of applause.
they want to say something? You're hesitating. They want to say something?
Okay.
All right. Please call the next item.
All right, your next item this evening is item number 2. This will be a Folsom Plan Area Semi-Annual Report.
Thank you, Mayor, Members of the City Council, Pam Johns, Community Development Director. For the past 5 years, we've been giving either a quarterly or semi-annual report. I'm not sure why it's not.
Hang on, I got you.
Okay, thank you. We've been giving a regular report out about development activity in the newest master planned community of Folsom called Folsom Plan Area Specific Plan. And so it's our pleasure to give you updated information about highlights of what's occurred over that last 6-month period, and it's really from October of 23 through March of 24. We generally cover the planning activity. I'm gonna go over the planning activity and then turn it over to our new city engineer, Rebecca Nees, to cover the rest of the activity. I'll back up just a moment and remind the council and community that while the specific plan for this master planned community was adopted in 2011, we actually had LAFCO approve the annexation or sphere of influence for this area in 2001. And I think in the context of the recent discussion about growth, it's important to note that it was almost 20 years from the time that we started that discussion until the first home was actually developed and occupied within the plan area. In the last 180 days, there were 4 new planning entitlements that were submitted. So these are pending and will be coming before the Planning Commission and/or City Council within that next current 6-month period. There were 2 design review projects, a cell tower, and then a larger map activity for, use the pointer to the cursor here, but a large map application for some of the remaining single-family and multifamily lands that are kind of south of the UC Davis Medical Office Complex and future town center site. I'm going to remind you about 5 actions that were approved over that same 6-month period, and we'll just go through those individually. The parcel map for the remainder land around the UC Davis Medical Campus was approved in November. And then in December, design review for Woodside Homes that purchased Broadstone Estates up along Highway 50 next to the Dignity Health site. In January, City Council approved a specific plan amendment for a freeway-oriented sign to cover the frontage of that area. It's a reader board sign for future commercial development activity. And in February, another design review for Shawwood Homes, which is a Japanese manufacturer of a unique home product, and that will be interesting to see how that integrates into the plan area. And then finally, in March, the first grocery-anchored commercial center was approved in the Folsom Plan area on that southwest corner of Alder Creek Parkway and East Bidwell Street. So that was certainly an exciting project. We're looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. So with that, I am going to turn it over to our new city engineer, Rebecca Neves, and just wanted to compliment how quickly she has come up to speed on all the good work that former city engineer Steve Cron did in the area. She's really rolled up her sleeves and dug in, and it'll be obvious to you in hearing from her, her knowledge, the depth of her knowledge of the plan area. So with that, Rebecca.
Rolled them up so far, she has no sleeves.
I was not prepared for the heat wave that came along. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Rebecca Neves. I'm your city engineer. And as Pam mentioned, former city engineer Steve Cron left some mighty big shoes for me to fill, and I commit to doing my very best. I'm pleased to bring you an update on the civil construction, building, and mapping activity for the Folsom Plan area this evening. Pam did a great job on touching some of the projects, and we also see some activity in the field on those projects currently right now. So here's a updated, let me go back. This is a updated aerial photo that was taken in March of this year, courtesy of the Folsom Plan Area Landowners Group, and highlighting some of the projects where we see some of that activity. This particular one happens to be looking west, and you can see Russell Ranch's phases 2 and 3, Mangini Ranch phases 1 and 2, as well as the Dignity and the UC Davis medical sites, and a few other key projects such as Fire Station 34, and I'll touch on that a little bit more later. You can also see Folsom Heights project, which is being developed by Elliott and has begun rough grading activities there on the lower right-hand side. So here you can see updated status on final map activity. We have 5 upcoming final maps that you will see on future council agendas for Toll Brothers, and we're currently sitting at 4,603 mapped single-family lots. Here you can see we have an updated status on the building permits that have been issued to date. This update includes a closeout of the 2023 calendar year, which we saw the issuance of 863 building permits for single-family homes. From that last update through the end of March, we have actually issued 407 permits, and we're now at 3,048 homes occupied with an estimated residency of 8,230 people that we've welcomed into our Folsom community family. Here on this slide, we have an updated aerial photo of phase 1 for Mangini Ranch, which includes Mangini Place Apartments, which is our first affordable housing project in the plan area. It saw its first resident move in at the beginning of April, and the project is progressing nicely towards completion and occupation. The builders in phase 1 of Mangini Ranch include TriPoint, Van Dale, St. Anton for the Mangini Place project, and Lennar. And then for Mangini Ranch, phase 2, it includes construction of Alder Creek Elementary, which was mentioned earlier, as well as the future Fire Station Site 34. And I'll touch on more on both of those a little later. So the builders within phase 2 include KB Homes, TriPoint, Beazer Homes, and all 3 are progressing very nicely on their models and development. Phase 2 also saw the construction of the plan area's first commercial site, which several businesses there have now opened, and it's a great place to grab lunch if you're in the area. It's also home to our vet clinic, and it's also home to the plan area's first gas station and coming soon Starbucks. So folks in the plan area will be able to fuel up one way or another. This is an updated aerial of Mangini Ranch Phase 3, which is where we see some Taylor Morrison construction going on. Some of the new homes in there continuing to pull permits in a nice steady fashion as well. And here's a
Can you
photo.
go back to that one for just one second?
Sure.
Is the graded site at the lower right, is that the school site?
I believe so.
School and park site,
Yes.
excuse me. That's what that is?
I
Okay.
believe so.
Thank you.
I'm still learning.
Ah,
This happens to be the model complex for Taylor Morrison in that area as well. And this is referred to as parcel 61 and 77, which is the UC Davis site. I'm sure all have seen the structure going up vertically, and they're doing good work on that. And they also, I'm sorry, lost my spot here. And they also have completed the backbone infrastructure for that site. It's close to acceptance for the city, and the parcel map for the remainder of parcel 61 has also been submitted with the city for review. This is parcel 85, also known as the Dignity Health Site. Mercy Drive and McCarthy Parkway are complete, and they have been accepted by the city. And here we have Russell Ranch, Phase 3, and Broadstone Estates. This is looking south, adjacent to the Dignity site. And Pam mentioned that there were earlier some entitlements that were processed in this last update period for Broadstone Estates, which includes the Woodside and Woodside Homes and Shawwood product types. And the builders for Phase 3, specifically Phases 3A and 3B, are Lennar in that area. And then Russell Ranch Phase 2 includes villages 1 through 5 being developed by Lennar. And Village 5 actually happens to include a little bit of a different product. It's a 118-unit condo project in Village 5. And you can see some of the Folsom Heights in this photo as well, as it's begun its rough grading activities. Folsom Heights has submitted their improvement plans. They're with the city for review, and we anticipate that project moving forward in the coming year.
The orange fence that you can see in the pictures.
That's our county
that's the
line.
county line.
Yes, sir. That's looking westward, yes. And here's a photo of Lennar's Phase 2 model complex as well, kind of a side-by-side comparison from your last update to this evening's. And then, let's see, we have Toll Brothers. This is actually looking north now, and it's located adjacent to East Bidwell, as well as Mangini Parkway. It's sandwiched in between White Rock and Mangini Parkway, adjacent to Oak Avenue as well. They are progressing with phases 1 through 3, and City Council will see several maps of theirs coming through on future agendas in the not-too-distant future. These are some of the product types and model complexes for Toll Brothers. And we have some construction progress on Fire Station 34, side-by-side comparison of the last update photo compared to about a week ago. Fire station is moving along quickly, and we anticipate that it should be ready for occupancy late summer, early fall ballpark. Alder Creek Elementary is also progressing very nicely. This is also a side-by-side comparison from the last update. We did have an opportunity to visit with some of the school administration that's currently preparing the site in anticipation of the next school year, which is great. We have Prospector Park, which is opening potentially fall of this year. We're anticipating it to be, end of summer, early fall. And we have a little bit of a race going on between the park and Fire Station 34. So we're excited to see both of these community amenities open up for the Folsom Plan area. And if you had a chance to drive around the plan area, you'll notice we have some signals going up. The signal at Savannah and Mangini Parkway is under construction, awaiting power connection, as well as the signals at East Bidwell and Savannah and East Bidwell and South Point Regency have also been installed and are awaiting power connection. And we wanted to provide a brief update to City Council regarding our Phase 2 transmission waterline project. You may recall this is a project that is funded with the proceeds from CFD 18 and 17. And we have a few critical milestones we're working through, which includes right-of-way and some funding agreements. But the tentative schedule is to wrap up the final bid documents in May, June, along with the release of a request for proposals for construction management services. In July, we will be sending the project out to public bid and awarding the construction management contract at the conclusion of the proposals in June, July. And then in August, September, we anticipate, bid opening in July. And then in August, September, we anticipate bid opening construction award contract. It's kind of, we have a few things we have to check off of our list in terms of critical milestones, like I mentioned, the right-of-way and some agreements. If those things progress as they're currently scheduled, this is the schedule that we would be able to keep with that project, and that would put construction starting this fall. So a little bit of background too on that. It is a proposed 24-inch transmission water line project that connects the Folsom Plan area to the water treatment plant on the north side of 50. It is to be used as, it's a transmission line. It actually just provides the connection to the water. It's not really covers it. It's just part of the infrastructure to ensure flows are met adequately south of 50.
Where in the right-of-way is that going to go on East Bidwell?
It is going to go in the adjacent, it's going to go adjacent to the tracks in the JPA easement.
So not in the existing street right-of-way?
You're correct.
Or roadway, I should
Correct,
say.
not in the existing roadway.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we tried to minimize construction impacts with that.
Along Oak Avenue? Are we that lucky also?
Yeah, we weren't that lucky, but we did our best, and we do have some decent traffic control plans that will mitigate
North
that.
or southbound side?
There's a part where it actually kind of goes right down the middle. But mostly it would be northbound.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And just as a reminder, these updates are posted on the city's website through the Community Development Department and Folsom Plan Area website.
Great.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I just have a couple comments. Thank you, Rebecca and Pam. Obviously, because everything south of 50 is in my district, I am down there a lot, and I'm on a couple of the Facebook groups, and it's a very engaged citizenry down there, which is great. But just a couple observations from my part. First of all, I live in Empire Ranch, and obviously it's, it was developed 30 years ago or whatever. But right now, because of all the late rain and the sunshine, the landscaping in Empire Ranch, particularly on Broadstone Parkway and Golf Links Drive, looks beautiful right now. Absolutely beautiful. But on the Earth Day celebration, when we were doing the trail stenciling down south of 50, as I was driving through Russell Ranch, I think it's like Grand Prairie or whatever, the landscaping is so sad. And I know that it's not mature, and maybe we went for this water-wise look or whatever, but it's just gray and drab. There's no color whatsoever. So I don't know what we can do after the fact to go back and perk it up, but it is not looking good. And then just keeping in mind for future developments, this is what we want the landscaping to look like, and here's an example of what we don't want it to look like. And the other thing is, I assume, but I don't know for sure, that there will be more single-family homes as we move west in the plan area. And it is my feeling that every single development from here forward must have an HOA. Nobody on this council was up here when Empire Ranch was developed, so I don't know if the city ran into these issues, but we have folks moving fences, extending driveways, painting driveways. And while I am a strong proponent of private property rights, this is a master plan community, and the homes are very, very close together. So when you do something like that to your home, it does impact your neighbors. And so I just think it has to, to save the city a lot of headache in the future, not having to deal with, disputes between neighbors and that sort of thing. Every single development going forward in the plan area must have an HOA. Some do, some don't right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
YK, anything?
Yes, Mayor. Maybe I'm going to piggyback with Vice Mayor, since I'm still at large for the city, so I represent all city, right? But she's good, covering that side. Rightfully, I know I'm a big on trees. I was about to ask Mayor for permission when the principals were here to tap some of those fifth graders or fourth graders to water the newly planted trees in peak summer. Anyways, if I was there as well for the last 3-4 meetings, residents invited. The trees are there and not there and there. So once, that gap is there, 10, 15 years from now, you will see that difference, right? Anything we can do working back with, them consistently, having that just like a golf link drive. If you go there, at least a few degrees lesser temperature in hot summer season on golf link, right? That's one. And coming back to, I think, slide 12 or 10, you mentioned about the future projects. Do we have an idea, anything coming in the future? This is past 180 days. Anything you're giving here is all about last 180 days, what happened at Folsom South, right? I'm sure you will get some applications in advance for interest. Do we have that kind of interest on any parcels there or whatever is the public knowledge?
Yeah, Councilmember Chalem-Churla, I think I understand what you're asking, which is, we identified early in the slides that there were 4 applications, new applications received during the period, and that those will be processed and considered likely during the current period. It's typically a 3 to 6 month timeline for those types of things. And we do have also some additional applications that come through the process. We post those pending applications on our website for anybody who's interested in seeing kind of what has come in and when something is scheduled for hearings with the Planning Commission, in this case, not the Historic District Commission. So they can access that information. We haven't put it on the Folsom Plan Area webpage, but there is the ability to look and see what has come in. We hope in the near future, relatively near future, to be able to have a mapping so that someone could flag a geographic area and say, I'd like to be notified of things that are coming into this area. Our system is set up to marry and match up with that system, but we don't have the software yet to do that. So in the future, we hope to be able to have residents and other interested persons identify geographic areas and be able to click on a map and see, anything that's pending or forthcoming within an area. And I think that would be helpful for what you're talking about when you have a geographic interest.
That's right. Thank you again, because people are always curious, what's coming here? At least we'll have a 3 to 6 months notice ahead for pinning. And one more, I know there's the next consent item is coming about roundabouts. Rebecca, I know you're new, but you are doing awesome. We were all a little bit worried on this dais when, Steve was retiring. Amazing. I did see one roundabout there when you were cruising through, maybe on slide 24 or so. The reason why I'm asking that question, the future, are we making a request through our city, even though we don't have a strong policy yet, and we are still working on it, potentially consider the roundabouts for public safety?
We do consider them, and we've kind of gone back and forth with some plan developments that are potentially coming on the horizon, talking through options related to either signalization or roundabouts. But yes, we do consider them.
Right, thank you. I know it's a dollar thing, but more than dollar, it's a safety.
And a maintenance thing.
Maintenance thing, right?
We actually have a roundabout first policy now.
We do.
Right? It's just maybe some of these things have been in the works for a while. Yeah.
For a while, okay. Yeah, all these ones were passed. That's why I was asking, look forward.
Yes.
Anything is coming about. So anyway, I just want to emphasize that, we'll put that request. Whenever I talk to any developers, I'm always bringing that one. Please plan ahead.
Yes.
When they're designing those little lines around. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I have no questions. Thank you, Rebecca. Great job.
Anything? Okay, I have one thing. Slide 28. This one may be for you, maybe for Mark. I'm not sure. Okay, right here, the lovely people that live in the Regency development asked that we get the sidewalk built right there so that they can get to the bike trail without going cross country. And I'm hoping, I brought that up a couple months ago, but I'm hoping you can move it higher to the top of the list, please, at your earliest convenience.
10-4.
Thank you. All right, next item.
All right, your next item is item number 3. This will be a Central Business District Master Plan Citizens Advisory Committee report out.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Pam Johns, Community Development Director. I'm just here to introduce both Kathy Peace and Joe Gagliardi they have been involved. Kathy is our project manager for this special project that the council prioritized, in the last 2 years. And so I want to also say, with the context of this report out, it really is just a progress. It is not, there are no actions, decisions. It's simply a way to tell you kind of what has the committee been doing, where's the project at, and where do we expect it to go moving forward? Because like so many special projects that are funded through grants, we have some hard deadlines at the end of this calendar year. And so we will be bringing several items back to you for consideration and action. Tonight is just to let you know where we're at on the project. And I think there was a little bit of confusion by the committee members and some correspondence today, and we tried to make that clear for them as well. This is just a way to give you a status report on where things are at. So with that, I'll put it over to Kathy Peace, project manager.
Welcome, Kathy.
Good evening. I'm pleased to be here to give you a short report out on our progress that we've made to date. With me this evening, as we indicated, Joe will be helping to present the perspective from the advisory committee. For orientation, this is the plan area. On the northwest side of the plan area is the Sutter Middle School, and then running parallel is East Bidwell and Riley Street. To the south is the Walmart and Lemby Park. To the east is Blue Ravine and the Target Shopping Center. As a bit of background, the city received an American Recovery Plan Act, or ARPA funds, to create this Central District Master Plan for the purpose of revitalizing and improving this area of the city. The city already has current general plan policies that support revitalization, economic development, mixed use, and additional housing in this area. This plan will not rezone or provide additional opportunities for housing, but it's intended to support the other initiatives that the city has going on. The master plan is also intended to build upon all of the great studies that have been done previously on land use, circulation, infrastructure studies, and the hope is to bring all those into a master plan that can help us identify priorities going forward. So key objectives are, again, revitalization, mixed-use residential. We really want to create a thriving destination. When we mention the business district, we want people to know where that's at and to have a thought of it as a destination place. We also would like to see circulation and mobility improvements, help with all aspects of mobility, make sure that sidewalks are connected, that people can bike and get around that area. We've heard also of safety concerns. We want to address that. Look for ways to beautify the area with lighting and landscaping, and again, identify infrastructure improvements, whether those are utilities or transportation improvements. So the process today, the effort kicked off last fall. We had a robust request for proposals that went out, and Jacobs was awarded the contract. With them, they have other consultants that are providing background information, including BAE Economics, Kimley Horn for Traffic, and AIM Consulting for Public Outreach. We've done a lot of outreach to date. We've done newsletters that have gone out citywide in the city's newsletters. We've maintained a website. We're maintaining mailing lists. There was an online survey, and we've also done pop-up events. The consultant, AIM Consulting, was surprised with the level of participation that we got. We actually got over 821 people who answered the online survey. At pop-up events where they went out into the community, they interacted with over 125 people. The interesting thing you'll see on this slide is that we're hearing kind of the same themes of what people want to see in this district. They want to see enhanced landscaping, additional restaurants, opportunities for special events and more entertainment, public gathering places, public arts, mixed-use buildings. So you'll see that in both of those surveys. So with this, I'd like to hand it over to Joe to talk about the advisory committee.
Great, thanks, Kathy. So as you can see, there was a diverse group of people that sit on this Citizens Advisory Committee. One thing I can share with you is that there is consensus, that there is no consensus on this project. Everyone is working hard, though, at providing their input, and I think that's an exciting part of this project. So we've had 3 meetings to date. The first was to discuss the opportunities and constraints. And then the second was to recap a vision and some preliminary concepts. And then the last one was to really discuss multimodal streets, roundabouts, and development potential, which led to quite a bit of discussion, so to speak. So, but there's I think some common themes in that everybody would like to see this area revitalized. This is probably my 3rd or 4th time I've been through this effort in this area. But I think the one thing is that everybody believes that it could use some attention and some investment. When there was redevelopment money, it was next on the list to be done there, and then when redevelopment went away, so did the funding. They believe that there should be a destination-oriented, that when you think about this area, what do you think about why you would go there? And there was a lot of effort put forward on that. They wanted to make sure that whatever happened didn't impact the traffic flow, especially on Riley and East Bidwell. And there was some discussion about roundabouts and those kinds of things, and there was also talk about some development along those roads, and there was concern about access because those existing landlords and tenants want to make sure that nothing impedes traffic flow to hinder their businesses. But they do want a place of placemaking. So, one thing that people realize is that it's beneficial to have Lemby Park there, to have the aquatic center and other amenities in that area that help draw to that area. And then the discussion came up about housing, and there was a wide range of discussion about housing, how close to existing housing, what kind of housing, what kind of density. So there's quite a discussion about that. And there's kind of a mixed view on that. Yes, they would like to see some additional housing in the area, but it's a matter of where it should go and what it looks like in the densities. There was some key input about public and private spaces, about safety. If I was to characterize it, I think beautification would be a common theme, and maybe some access relative to sidewalks and multimodal types of things, but without affecting the impact of the automobile, to be honest with you. There was some discussion about the efforts of what is exactly a modern street design. What kinds of things are those? As you can see on this, there were some numbers. I had to ask somebody what the numbers referred to. So number 1 is about pedestrian access. 2 is about, bus stops, outside dining, on-street parking, increased landscaping, all those things. But how you do that, where you do it, and how you do it is really an important part of what's to come. There was some discussion, as I said, about gateways and roundabouts, and of course, that was about the end of that meeting. There was a lot of discussion about it. I think, as you guys are sharing here about roundabouts, there's a lot of information that people are unsure about what that means relative to how much right-of-way you need, and if it indeed will impede circulation, improve circulation. Certainly, I think the comments about safety are valid, but I think people are concerned about what that might do. And I think when you're in a greenfield site and you're building and you build a roundabout, it's one thing. When you're putting something in a place where people have made a significant investment already and there's businesses there, I think there needs to be some more effort relative
Joe,
to
was this exact exhibit used in the discussion, the one at the top right there?
I don't remember.
Because that's a right-of-way that's narrower than East Bidwell right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think one of the things
And I mean
was
that was a good thing if you use this, because people's expectations can be set very accurately with that image right there.
I think one of the comments was they didn't want to see 2 lanes in each direction eliminated. This reflects potentially that. So
okay, got it.
Yeah, it was used, and it was controversial for that reason that there are, East Bidwell and Riley are 4 lanes or 2 lanes each direction, and so we'll have to show an example of how you accommodate.
They're really 5 lanes because there's the
5
center
lanes.
turn lane, which that's the thing that could be eliminated to make that effective.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So this was the point about continuing to support, two-way through traffic, and really the concern about the effectiveness of roundabouts.
So study mission to Indiana for everybody.
Carmel, Indiana. That's right.
All right.
Generally, though, they were supportive of having horizontal mixed use. So that you had the use of parking areas. They saw a vast area of parking lots that seemed like they could maybe be reused in a different way. And they were concerned about where development would occur first. And I think at least the table I sat at kind of liked what you would call the western side by the DMV Center in that area to maybe be the first area concern, and then move easterly. There was concern with high density. They acknowledged that that kind of mixed use is not likely to occur in the near term. And if there was this kind of we were presented from the consultant, high density that would be located along the parking lots adjacent to East Bidwell. And there was a huge concern raised about eliminating the visibility to the existing retailers. And so that project, I mean, that concept was really raised a lot of eyebrows. And lastly was, what should the district be renamed? One of the landowners said, I'm really concerned because everybody's referring this as CBD, and we don't have any CBD there. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, CBD actually helps relieve anxiety, insomnia, arthritis, pain, and inflammation. But the side effects are, nausea, fatigue, and irritability. So, I'm not sure what name ultimately we'll come up with, but you can see a few of the names that were considered. But I think when the survey came out, the majority of the people said they'd like to keep it as the central business district. So with that, it's back to Kathy.
Joe, if I could just say that when I mention Central Business District, almost everybody says, "Where is that?" Yeah. So it's interesting that we get a survey that wants to retain a name, but when you utilize it in a form of here, Central Business District, almost everyone says, "Where is that? What exactly? What are the parameters of the location, and where does it extend to?" And so I think there's vagueness with maybe the people who didn't answer and people outside of the survey, I guess.
So I've heard it described with several different boundaries, but the one Kathy identified in the beginning is right now the one that's being used. So.
Thank you.
Yes, on that point, I think we've got a lot of great suggestions, but nothing yet has been the aha moment that someone has said, "Oh, what about this?" that everyone's like, "Oh, yes, that's it." So we're going to do some more work and hope that we get an idea. So again, we encourage anybody, if they have a bright idea, to let us know. So right now, Jacobs is embarking on drafting the master plan. And what we have right now is a preliminary outline of what we expect to see in the document. So the vision, what should this district look like? What are the economic development opportunities? We're going to want some examples of what could happen. Suggestions on mobility and access and circulation. It won't have all the answers. We won't have detailed traffic studies, but we're hoping that we have a menu of things that the city can consider going forward. Again, landscaping and lighting examples, public spaces. What are attractions that could go here that could help bring people into this district? Wayfinding signage, again, what are the utility and traffic constraints? And then most importantly, an action plan. So a list of things that we should do in the future, what are the priorities, and then potential funding sources. Because again, this is not a developer-driven master plan, so we're gonna have to look for funding, private-public partnerships and things as we go forward. So this is a draft of our schedule. We had originally proposed 4 advisory committee meetings, but as we're going forward, we recognize that that probably is not enough and that we want flexibility to make sure that we get sufficient input from the advisory committee. So we are anticipating another advisory committee meeting about the district identity and key opportunities in June. In July, when the master plan is available, we will share that with the advisory committee, and at that time, hope they have a recommendation. In August, we'd like to do a community workshop on the master plan. And then again, as Pam mentioned, we are up against a deadline, so we want to make sure that we go to the Planning Commission in September or October, and then have plenty of time to bring the proposal to you in either October or November. So that concludes our presentation. Thank you.
So I have a couple of things just to give feedback on. There's 10 things going through my head. So I went to a meeting earlier this year, at the beginning of the year sometime, maybe February, and good discussion. I saw a lot of, ideas presented on the screen. But when I went to the conference in Monterey that's about economic development and met with different developers, the things that I saw versus what they were telling me, and these are experts and who's going to build it in the end, right? Their feedback was phenomenal. And some of them were many of the things that Joe Gagliardi said about that if we want this to be central business district, then we have to keep 4 lanes in East Bidwell so 5 lanes with the turn lane, right? So I do understand why the roundabouts and that picture did freak people out, because one of the first priorities, and I forget which slide it was on, 7 or 10, was about increasing access for residents and visitors for walkability and enhance their experience. That's great, but that we have to keep in mind our businesses and how to promote our businesses in this, and the current ones that we have here. The other thing is, the other thing is those multi-use, what Joe mentioned as well. At the back of the property makes sense, but at the front of the property does not make sense. It has to be business forward. And there was a lot of good input about how to keep our box stores happy, and to nothing wrong with high density housing in those areas, but where we put it is essential, and putting it on the street will not promote businesses. It'll prevent that. So, and then to a colleague's point, I think the central business district, as I keep thinking about it and saw the examples on there, if we want this to be the central business district, then that's probably really close to the appropriate name. And it's about brand development. And right now, you mentioned beautification was a priority, and that's definitely a priority. It needs to be revitalized in that way. I did make suggestions with the team that went to the conference to our city staff about overlays or incentives we can do to encourage property owners that are existing landlords now to redevelop and invest. Ways to incentivize that doesn't cost the city money, but encourages them to move forward in a positive way. So hopefully those will, take root, and we'll see some of that. So I think, what I would like to see, this is a quick turnaround if you're presenting the master plan by the end of the year. So just keep all of those things. We cannot have East Bidwell move to one street, and I think that what I can hear and sense on the council, they agree. And so I think make sure that's a priority. Continue. Obviously, there was some not consensus with the committee. So I would encourage everyone to go back and figure out what the vision is that they hold, and make sure we see that on paper. That's communicated. Not that you haven't listened, the consultants haven't listened to that, but I think not seeing it on paper the way that they maybe want to, and I would appreciate if you could flesh that out a little bit more from that group that's invested. Then the last thing is, the biggest thing I heard when I went to the meeting, half of the comments from the public were about homeless and crime. And it's really not the homeless that need and want help. It's the criminal aspect of our transient homeless, and that is outside of Sutter Historic District. That is one of the 2 places where we see most of our homeless. And so this is not for you to fix. I do realize that is for the council to fix. But that is something that, no matter how great we plan this, if we don't fix that aspect of it, then these things won't work, and we won't be able to track the quality of businesses that, or keep them here even. So that's not for you, that comment, but thank you for all the work.
And Rosario, anything? Okay.
Quick one. If you don't mind, can you go back to slide number 3? This answers, my good friend Rosario's question. Keep posting this island. Literally, I was thinking, which Hawaii island was this? I was literally thinking, when you see that way, right? People get it over the time. I think we have a Parks and Rec, Facebook page, and we have so many. This is a great one to inject the central business district, right? And the other one is, you may be doing, Kathy. If not, let me ask that clarifying question. All the businesses in this island, are those being notified when we have the public meetings?
Absolutely. So that was a question
Landon.
that came up when you were at that meeting as well. So in the beginning, when we were trying to get folks to volunteer for the advisory committee, we did quite a bit of outreach. And we didn't get a lot of response from that. And then when the consultant went out to do public outreach, they actually walked door to door with flyers to reach out to the businesses and let them know about the effort. And then following up from our second advisory committee, there was a ask to provide even more outreach and make sure the businesses were aware. So Joe and one of the other advisory committee members volunteered and had a huge list of all of the property owners, called them, emailed them, and I think there were like 120. At the end of the day, we only heard responses from 6. And so I've been emailing those 6 and letting them know. There is a website too that we've let folks know, the business owners know, that we are updating the information as it's becoming available. A lot are out of the area, I think, and so we're doing our best to reach out to them.
Yeah.
And then when we, obviously, when this goes forward, we'll have the standard city notices to let the property owners know that when that's going forward as well.
Got it. Thank you for that detailed answer.
A couple weeks ago, I attended a SACOG Land Use Committee meeting on the mayor's behalf. And it was interesting timing because the city of Rancho Cordova made a presentation about, I think that they're calling it Mills Crossing, some sort of city-owned project that they're planning that's mixed use and housing and all that kind of stuff. And it was interesting to hear David Sander talk about the fact that they've already spent tens of millions of dollars beautifying Folsom Boulevard and doing sidewalks and bike lanes and all this kind of stuff, landscaping. And it has resulted in 0 private investment from neighboring property owners. And to Councilmember Rohrbaugh's point, I think it's because infill development can be so expensive to do because there's infrastructure updates that are needed and all that kind of stuff. And so I think as part of this process, there's going to have to be an effort with the council and the community development department to come up with some of those policies that encourage private investment, in their own properties. But a couple other comments. I'm going to throw a name out for the district. I would just like to see it called the Central District, which kind of retains that original name, but acknowledges that it's not just about businesses there. We do have residences there. I understand that the roundabout thing can be controversial, but you also had a picture there of the kind of the gateway sign. Was that controversial? I hope not.
No.
Okay, because I'm a big fan of doing some gateway signs. And then it was very clear, I think, from the few emails that we did get today from merchants and business owners, is that they equate increased cars with increased business and foot traffic to their business. And I don't know if that is necessarily the case. Certainly, you need to be able to drive through the Central District because people are going to Lowe's and Walmart, and you're not going to go pick up 2x4s at Lowe's walking. But at the same time, because there are people who live there and live within walking distance there, I do think to the extent we can make it walkable and bicycle friendly, that will also increase foot traffic to their places of business. So anyway, I don't know. Certainly they're not going to Carmel, Indiana, but if there was something within a couple hours drive of the city, I think it'd be worthwhile to maybe take a field trip somewhere.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I would implore the engineering department or the engineering consultant that we have to do some actual overlay designs of roundabouts and street configurations onto actual aerial photos of the area, because I think we are tiptoeing into the same problem that a lot of people had with the revitalization of Sutter Street back in the day, where because they couldn't imagine it, they were having a very hard time agreeing to it.
Yeah.
When you can't visualize that stuff readily, it's very difficult to agree to it. And I think that to the Vice Mayor's point, there is enough right-of-way there to get 2 lanes each direction if that is absolutely needed. Even with roundabouts, because there is no need for turning lanes. And with roundabouts, it makes it very easy for people to double back on a block, to always make a right turn into or out of businesses, which actually increases safety, makes sidewalks better and everything. And then that would release the center suicide lane for use as bike lane sidewalks where there are none. Or to improve the ones that we have. So I don't want you to give up on the road improvements just to meet a deadline. We've got to find a way to help people understand this better before we make a decision.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yeah.
You do have an item on your consent calendar this evening that is tied directly to that point. The roundabout feasibility study that we're about to undertake does include an analysis of at least, I think, 2 intersections in this area, so we will...
Wales and Glen at Riley and East Bidwell.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly
those 4
which
are the
ones.
key ones.
Yeah.
Right?
So we will be able to emulate what you're describing of showing what the roundabout would look like
Laid
within
onto the actual ground.
That's
so
correct.
people can see both things. Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you for the report. It was excellent.
Vice Mayor, I just wanted to mention to you, for purposes of investment from private side, there's programs like facade improvements that can be incentivized to be done, or credits for people if they have already built and now they're adding to it instead of having to pay a full impact fee. They get some of that, and I think Anna got some of that feedback when she went to the ICSC in Monterey about having credits for people. So that's one of the advantages of infill, is if you can provide incentives like that, then you do get the private investment. I don't know if they did that in Rancho, and maybe they just did the physical improvements, but there's ways of incentivizing.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, very good. And your point, Anna, about doing things that actually incentivize businesses to do development there, that is absolutely critical. We have a couple of people that would like to comment on this.
Yeah, you have 2 requests to speak on this item. Your first speaker will be Bruce Klein. Bruce will be followed by Dan Dreyer.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Thanks for the great presentation on this. Pretty exciting for Folsom as any new great things come to our town. I'm the chair of the sales tax measure, 34-year resident of Folsom. We oftentimes talk on the sales tax measure about the holes in the general fund departments that we all know are grave and deep. But when we crafted the measure, our goal was to make sure that this is a one and done situation, that we don't ever have a situation where we have to come back and ask the public for more tax dollars. Our belief is that one of the components that we've put into this measure under economic development, which is probably one of the questions that comes up, what is that economic development piece? Economic development requires that a demonstration of some financial viability towards the city, but it also allows the council to fund city-adopted master plans like this project. So the mayor mentioned the Sutter Street. We liken it to that. Obviously, RDA is gone, but whether it's River District Master Plan, Central Business District Master Plan, to generate sales tax dollars so we never have to come back and talk about this subject again, and preserve and protect those precious dollars. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, next speaker will be Dan Dreyer.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to this and to read my email that I sent out this week. I sent the email out mainly because we did not know the meeting was going to happen like this, and we didn't know if it was going to be just an informational meeting like this or if it was going to be more of a decision-making meeting, and we had some grave concerns. We thought the next meeting would be with the Central Business District Advisory Committee. Thank you, Sarah, by the way, for suggesting that I be on that committee. There's some pretty big concerns that we have and that we've developed. We've had a lot of conversation along the way of what were non-negotiables and what were absolutely going to be factors in the whole plan. And then when we saw the actual plan, those factors weren't actually verbalized on the plan. They weren't written down. And so those were our main concerns. And then to go back to your concern about traffic count, it's the number one thing that people look at when it comes to its visibility and traffic count for rent. And we're not a renting business as far as our business is concerned, but every other business that's on our council is a business that gets rent. And most of the property, the stakeholders that are in this area are places that are charging rent for their places. We're one of the few that actually run the business and own the property. But traffic count is a major factor for accessibility to the business. That center divide or the center lane of turning is a major factor for being able to have accessibility to the business. I do know your point about how you can get around it and then come right back to the business. But a lot of times it's more of an impulse where somebody says, oh, I need to stop by Big Five to grab that, that sporting good before I go down. And if there's a lot of traffic and they go all the way to the end and come back, it might not be the actual stop that they make. Or I might want to stop by and grab something to eat at our business. So for us, we're actually right in the plans of getting ready to submit to the city of Folsom for a major remodel to bring our Wally's Pizza Bar concept to the city of Folsom. And this is something we've been working on for at least a year and a half plus, and it's in the forefront of our minds because it's very important.
What's the location?
At FLB.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a conversion to bring a restaurant and big outdoor area all the way, going as far as close to Bidwell Street as we can, and it's going to be a major investment. It's not going to be something of a couple $100,000. We're talking a couple $1 million. So for us, this is a big deal on how would this work accessibility wise. There was one other point that was brought up, and it was about how many business owners have been reached out to. I think it's good to clarify, and if I'm wrong on this, please let me know. But as my understanding goes, it's stakeholders, which are property owners. So you have to be a business owner and a property owner to be able to be in the committee. You have to be a stakeholder. You have to be somebody who owns the property that you're actually doing business in. And we have 3 businesses in our center alone, and we never had any communication with us except when Sarah had recommended and then got the calls to ask if we would be on the committee, and we were overwhelmingly, yes, absolutely. Okay. So I don't think you're hearing from the businesses in the Central Business District. I think you're hearing from the stakeholders. Sure. And I think that is true that many of those stakeholders own property and don't live in the city of Folsom.
So maybe we can take this a little offline to make sure that we get all of this incorporated going forward, and I'd be happy to be part of that meeting. I'm sure the Vice Mayor would be as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, you have no further requests to speak on this item.
Okay, fantastic. All right, we're going to move on to item number 4.
All right, item number 4 is the report back on the April 11 community listening session on homelessness and direction to staff.
Okay. I'm going to hope that this is minimally controversial. Okay. So the Vice Mayor and I had the good fortune to have a meeting with about 90 of our neighbors who came for to share their thoughts about homelessness. And what we tried to do during the course of that session was sort of compartmentalize the talk into a couple of several buckets. And those of you that have been in these meetings that we've had here at the City Council have heard me describe these, but I'll review it. And what we tried to do is have people try and think in 4 lanes. First lane being what, if any, services the city should be funding or providing to the homeless. Okay, that is one thing that is distinct from everything else. The other 3 topics were regarding the police department regarding all the other city departments and regarding us as individual residents. What are the things that each of those categories of people should be doing more of, or less of, or differently? So we tried to have the discussion be civil and controlled in those buckets, and it was fantastic. It was really good feedback that we got. We used some agenda pads, some big white pads, and took a bunch of notes and got a bunch of ideas down. But just to synopsize it, and then I'm going to go through some recommendations that the Vice Mayor and I took from that, and we'd like to try and get to try and use as priorities going forward. But there was general agreement that the most pressing issues were limiting criminal activity of transients and homeless. That came through loud and clear, as it has in many other discussions. A solid, thoughtful discussion of what steps might be taken by the police department and what the limitations are that the police department have to work within is what happened. Much of what came from the discussion are already actions that the police department is taking. So our PD is well familiar with all the challenges of trying to control and prevent crime amongst that population. Some of that's not as noticeable to the average citizen as they would like it to be, but it is happening. So everyone came away from the discussion agreeing that having a larger police force would allow better visibility to those actions and allow the police department more time in their days to address crime generally and activities that may prevent crime by transients and the homeless. So that should come as no surprise to anybody. We've had many discussions on that topic. As it relates to direct services to the homeless, that first or fourth category, depending on how you look at it, there was very mixed advice. There are people in town who would like us to have a day center, a fixed location for that. There are some that think that we should be doing those services with a mobile center of some sort, and a whole bunch of other suggestions were made of what the city should be directly funding. But there was not direct support by everybody in the room for any particular course of action. So I think more work needs to be done on that topic to come up with any concrete suggestions for how we go forward on that account. There was consensus that expanding the CAPS volunteer program to put more eyes on the street, so to speak, would be good, and that's supporting the excellent local service organizations that we have, like Jake's Journey Home and Powerhouse Ministries, is imperative that we should all be doing that. So that kind of gets into what we can do as individual citizens. So one of the suggestions is about expanding CAPS, and then the other is about some education on what we can all do to support those local agencies and help people help themselves. Basically, how to be empathetic and helpful without being encouraging of bad behavior inadvertently. And then finally, as it relates to things that other city departments should do more or less of or differently, there was agreement that anything we can do to head off the visible signs of camping in and around city parks and important pedestrian pathways would raise everyone's both perceived and actual safety. So primarily some of the ideas about code enforcement were discussed and are part of the recommendations that we're going to show now. So there's 8 of these. They're kind of a collaboration between the Vice Mayor and I. So I'm going to let you comment wherever you want to. These are not in priority order. They are simply numbered so that we can discuss them more easily. That's all. So the first of them is to get the sign shop working on some new park signage to refresh the perimeter signage at our parks. And that is to make clear where the edge of the actual park property is so that it will be easier to enforce the times when the parks are closed. And I'd like to see that we prioritize the 3 that we get the most commentary about, which are Lemby, Kemp, and Rodeo Park. And basically that's the thing. And then recommendation 2 is to have the police department please make time to enforce the park closure hours. We have loosely dawn to dusk kind of closure hours, I think, for certain parks that get used after dark for sporting events and stuff like that. We'll have to post some actual times, but we want to try and formalize when the parks are closed and demand that people not be in the no people be in the parks after those hours. Recommendation 3 is begin a recruiting campaign to increase the number of CAPS volunteers with, for me, a recommendation that we try and double the CAPS force. It stands somewhere near 50 people right now, or maybe a little more, a little less. But if we had 100, we could have a much greater frequency of just walking around and bike patrols in the trails and park system, which I think would help us identify and report to the police department on unauthorized, illegal, or dangerous activities throughout the day. Okay, number 4, and this one is based on some, good recommendations that have been made by Gene Schumann from Jake's Journey Home in a number of forums, including here, about, how to be empathetic, how to be helpful, but not inadvertently encourage bad choices to continue or bad behavior to continue amongst the homeless population. So I think using the city's educational, communication tools to spread that instruction more widely, I think would be helpful for everybody here in town. Number 5 is one that the Vice Mayor and I don't see exactly eye to eye on, but I think could be an important tool for removing, I'm just going to call them intimidating pets where they shouldn't be. So we have city pet licensing laws, and when you adopt a pet, there is a requirement that you have a home for that pet. The city licensing law here in Folsom requires that you identify where your home is. And if you can't house your pet, I don't feel like you can take care of them properly. And oftentimes, nobody would get a pet in Folsom that has a house and use it as a guard dog outside without a fence. So that's what's happening, and those people should not, they're not taking care of that animal in a safe way in my estimation, and I think we have the full right to ask them to move somewhere else or impound the pet. Okay, number 6, this is as straightforward as it could possibly be. We just simply can't allow people to be doing these things in public spaces. Number 7, yeah. Formulate a ban on people congregating or occupying right-of-way areas along roads with a 40-mile-per-hour or greater speed limit and rail corridors as a safety precaution. There is no reason for people to hang out adjacent to the light rail tracks. There's no reason for people to hang out in the landscaping adjacent to a 45-mile-an-hour or higher roadway, 40-mile-an-hour or higher roadway. That is inherently dangerous to their person, and there's no reason for people to do that. So I'd like to see us have right-of-ways used for commuting from place to place and not congregating and people staying there for extended periods of time. And we actually, if you go back to that one for just a second, we have a municipal code, which the Vice Mayor identified here, 1005-30, which already prohibits hanging out in medians for the same reasons. It's dangerous to just be standing out in the median for no reason. Okay, and then number 8, at the right time, and I'll absolutely rely on the discretion of the fire department, but as soon as it is practical and necessary, we need to reinstitute the closure of off-trail wildland and open space during our fire season. So those are the recommendations and things that, with the council's, consent, I'd like to ask the city manager and the departments to prioritize.
So can I give you my feedback?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I just happened to be there. I listened in more because I wanted to see the impact of what some of the feedback was, more like in terms of comparing it to other counties or other cities within Sacramento County. But so the feedback was great, but just my personal observation is that we don't have a comprehensive plan. And that not having a comprehensive plan for me is that we're going to continue to chase the tail around because we're not experts on homelessness. And we're not seeking advice and knowledge from people who are experts in homelessness that can really, I think, help us make improvements where we have the ability to make positive changes. Proposition 1 just passed, and I'm not fully clear on its impact, but I do know that there will be state funding that will come down, that if we don't create a comprehensive plan of what we want it to look like, somebody's going to come in and tell us how that's going to look, because local jurisdictions continue to lose the ability and our rights to state mandates. And it is going to happen if we don't come up with some kind of a plan that has expert knowledge on how to address this issue with homelessness. We are going to find ourselves challenged within the next few years with this Prop 1 money. And so I
Can I just ask
Yes.
you, challenged with regard to having a comprehensive plan for what services we should be providing or what laws we should be enforcing?
That's the thing, is that if we have some kind of a plan in place, and I know you as mayor have the ability to create a committee. Personally, I'm a big fan of committees, because committees really, what it does is it brings people who are really passionate about whatever the topic may be, and it brings experts to come in and educate people, because there's so much information on homelessness and there are so many laws. Like when I saw the one about the pets, I think there are laws that protect people who are unhoused with their animals. And so to me, I think that we can eventually create these plans that can throw us into a lawsuit because of something that we may not have known. But I'm a big fan of wanting to see a committee created that has some kind of a comprehensive plan, something that where we are educated on the impact of what Prop 1 money will have and how we can utilize it to our own benefit. Because that, it just passed last month. There's funding going to be available to jurisdictions. And trust me that if we don't get ahead of it and create something, somebody will come into the city of Folsom and do it for us. And it just goes back to local jurisdictions will continue to lose the rights to state mandates. And that has been happening for so many things, not just related to this, but so many other things. We're seeing it. We're getting state mandates on how to handle things. And I just don't think we are clear on that. So I would personally, Mayor, love to see you create a committee that comes up with a plan of action that educates, where we are educated on the impact of homelessness and the rights of people, and where we can bring in experts that can tell us what is the best plan for the city of Folsom with the 120, quote unquote, somewhere around there, unhoused individuals, and anywhere up to another 150 transients. What is the best plan for the city of Folsom? And I don't think we have a really good grasp of what that is looking like. And so those are my thoughts.
All right.
But I did enjoy your meeting.
A fair challenge. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I did enjoy the meeting. You and Vice Mayor Saracino did a really good job of managing what could have been high, emotions of people. And it was really good. I left there just really impressed with how you both managed that meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Rohrbaugh, thoughts?
I missed a. Well, first, did you get feedback on these recommendations from our police department? You mentioned on this one, obviously, we already have an ordinance in place that they can activate, which I thought was already activated, but I guess I'm wrong.
Like I said, much of what is recommended here is just reprioritizing some laws that we already have and taking advantage of what's on our code books and asking the police department to spend a little bit more time on those things that are within their, purview already, and things that they do enforce currently. just for to be a little bit more directed. This is the thing that we have heard consistently from the entire public. They are concerned about us not doing enough about crime, and as it relates to transients and homeless population here. So asking, for the PD to head that direction, I think is completely reasonable. And these all came from things that were discussed in that meeting and that we've heard in other forums as well.
So I'm not sure if I understand. So outside of number 8, did you get feedback from the police department on these suggestions or recommendations, or were they at the meeting?
I did not get direct feedback from the police department on any of these things. These are recommendations that I brought forward for us to consider.
Okay, so that would be my first suggestion, and then can we just kind of we can go backwards? Because I know I missed one, and I think it was the one that a few people laughed at, so I have an idea of what it is. I think... I think you addressed this, that Councilmember Aquino said that there was already an ordinance in place, so let's go to number 6.
Well, it's specifically for medians. I was suggesting that we expand that to be all right-of-way.
And that's where I would have to get feedback from the police department, I would think, or from the attorney that of what, because it's so complicated with civil rights and infringement of pathways. So, I think that's something that just to get feedback from them on what we cannot do. So obviously this is the one I missed that people smiled at, the public urination and defecation, obviously. But a lot of these, obviously that one's obviously, so we can move past it. But, those other ones, those are things that are already illegal. So at this point, they don't have the resources to be there, to have a presence, to stop people from urinating outside our street in the middle of the day. So I think these are great suggestions, and I appreciate the whole process. But we lack resources to be able to cite these. I do have some recommendations on how we can move these misdemeanors into action and leverage that into getting people help. And I can bring that up in a second. So I think, I don't know what Councilmember Aquino's thing on this. It sounds like this sounds like a great idea, but I would again be concerned about the civil rights issues with when a pet is on leash, which is already a city ordinance. They're not doing anything illegal. And so you can't go up and ask somebody if they have a license, so I'd be concerned about this. So again, I would like to get the feedback on that before we recommend it going forward. If you can go back to whoever's doing this, thank you. It's like magic.
With regard to the pet licenses, I did actually talk to the city attorney about that one, and it's plain that in order to receive a license from the city of Folsom for a pet, you have to have a home address.
Well, and that's probably very clear, but how then would you go up to a person sitting on the street with a dog on leash and then ask him about it? And are we going to put resources towards doing that? So if they're in a tent and they're in a camp, I'm just saying there's other obstacles around. I'm just giving you my feedback on these recommendations.
Yeah.
So this one actually I really like. I think that we do need a public education thing to our businesses about the behavior they're doing. If they continue to feed someone at lunch or at dinner or at breakfast, but then are complaining why they're coming there so we see this on Sutter Street with a few businesses. I think this is a great educational campaign that the city can go forward. And what are the small things that we can do that add up and make sure all the businesses and residents that are concerned about this issue have the access to, Jake's Journey or somebody like that, that they can call when these problems do arise. So I think this one I would definitely recommend. I think that one's an easy one. Let's go back to 3. The problem with this one is it's already, we just went to the grad. I know Councilmember Aquino and I were there, and I think YKU came later. At their graduation, the process is long. The CAPS volunteers are not law enforcement officers, do not carry protection or anything like that. So if they're dealing with homeless or transients or the criminal aspect of this, then
I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that they walk around and look at things and report
well, and I
back.
think if you look at the ClickFix, and I think these are all great ideas. I'm not saying I'm just, I wish we could have, or maybe we're fleshing it out now because, we have the ClickFix whatever it's called,
C-Click
C-Click Fix. And we get lots of updates, if you're on it at all, about what's going on in real time at all times. So I think a education campaign to get more CAPS volunteers would be fantastic. So I think they're seeing some age out, and so that would be my recommendation on that one. Two, so the next one.
We had a
Whoever's
number of
magic.
people in that session that volunteered to join CAPS if they learned a little more about it. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I think this is great. I think there's, I would not put our police department resources on enforcing park closure hours with the resources they have right now. Of course, if they're not on a call, they can drive around and do that, but this is also code enforcement, and I think this also falls to Parks and Rec with parks, and they don't have the resources to go around. I heard at Ed Mitchell Park, they don't have the resources to lock parks at times, not because they don't want to, but because who in Parks and Rec is working at 10 p.m. or whenever it closes. So I think this is a resource issue, not a priority issue. I think, encouraging the police department when they're not on call to go look around and make sure no one's in the parks. I would hope that they already do this. I think this might be in alignment with the number one.
They are one and the same.
Yes. So I think one of the things I heard in the several conversations I've had recently with neighboring departments, Sheriff's Department, Rancho, and some others is, and the community prosecutor idea is, getting rid of the benches and really paying attention to the bushes that you can hide behind. And so this is something that we could have Parks and Rec look at. And, maybe something we can work with RT at. We don't have a lot of people riding the rail right now. So all those benches aren't being used for the correct uses. So maybe we take some of those things away so we're not having people linger there that are coming up. You can watch it. The bus comes into Sutter Street and you can watch them get off and where they go. And so we could look at landscaping. We could look at, I even heard a creative idea at night and around businesses. They play classical music really loud, and that's not where the people want to live. That's not where the transients want to come and hang out. And they want to move somewhere else. So I don't think this is a bad idea. It's about making sure we're looking at all aspects. I know I brought up Rite Aid last year, did a ride along, and there were a bunch of bushes there, and all of a sudden one day they were gone, and now you don't have the people laying behind the bushes between the barrier. So I think this is a great idea as far as now the signage. I don't particularly think is going to make a big difference, because I don't think transients and criminals care about. I think if you say don't steal in my, don't steal here, or don't linger here, or don't encamp here, they're still going to camp where they want to encamp. They're already criminals. But I think, this is a great idea as far as what can we do to prevent these kind of things and capacities of encampments and other things like that.
It's a good idea, just not a good idea.
I think part of this is a good idea. I don't think signage is going to help. It's not a bad idea to have great signage, but...
So not all of this is necessarily intended to deter people from camping in those areas. It's to educate the public about where the boundary of the park is, so that they feel comfortable making a call and saying, hey, somebody's in the park after hours, and please get them out of there. So that it's both things. It's trying to increase public safety and also increase the perception of public safety.
Well, and I think your overall suggestion was, what can we do to recommend to our staff to move forward? And I think my colleague's suggestion was putting a team together. And I think if you look at the POP team and those that have been involved, and even talk to the chief, you'll see that they actually do know what to do. They were doing a small capacity of it with the resources they did have, and then they had to put those resources elsewhere. So I would run all these recommendations through the two officers that work in this environment or have worked deeply in this environment for the last several years, have them flesh some of this out, and then make a recommendation to the staff in general.
Okay. Sarah?
Well, first, Mr. Mayor, thank you for hosting the listening session. I was really just the scribe. You were kind of directing things. And I think it was good because it gave people an opportunity to talk longer than 3 minutes at the dais or sitting on the podium, which they usually get.
That's right.
So I don't want to complicate this. I don't think we need to appoint a committee. I think, I'd like to propose our city philosophy in one sentence, and that is, to the extent we can connect you with services, we will do that. But if you refuse those services for whatever reason, we're going to make it inconvenient for you to be homeless in our city. And to me, these recommendations are the latter, right? These are the ways we're going to make it inconvenient for you to be homeless in our city. And we know because of the Boise decision, we are not at this time able to cite folks for violating our no camping policies. But I agree with most of these in that, regardless of whether you're housed or not, there are some things that you cannot do in our city. And so obviously, resources are limited, but to the extent that the police department or code enforcement, whatever, can, provide maximum enforcement, then, I'd like to see us do that, whether it's standing in a median, which I saw somebody doing the other day when I got off at Highway 50. They were in the median where people like to do the U-turn at East Bidwell and Iron Point. I think one of the things that also came up at that meeting was a desire for increased use of mounted patrols and bike patrols. And correct me if I'm wrong, Elaine, but I believe we're using some overtime staff and some one-time dollars maybe to increase those patrols already?
Yeah, Chief has talked about, or he and I talked about using some of the dollars that were formerly going to the Navigator to offer overtime dollars for the mounted patrol in both in the parks and on the trails. So he thought that would be a good use of their time and that they would be really eager to do that. Chief, let me know if I'm misquoting you at all.
Okay, so that's good news. So you mentioned the Navigator, and I know we had a Navigator in the past, and it was kind of hit or miss whether the person was, making a difference or not. But I agree with the recommendation that came from this meeting about wanting to educate the public, because one of the questions that I asked Gene Schumann of Jake's Journey Home was, where is the line where you're giving somebody some food or a sandwich because you're trying to build a relationship with them and develop trust so that they eventually will want to avail themselves of some services, right? Versus me handing somebody food and that's enabling them, right? Because I don't want to enable people and I don't want to make it convenient for them to be homeless here. And so she kind of explained that where, there are certain people that somebody who she's working with, right? She will give them a sandwich or something. But if you're just kind of passing through or whatever, maybe she isn't. So she has her own method. And I think as part of the education campaign, the message needs to be, hey, give to one of these organizations, not to individuals or whatever. But I wonder also, and I know limited funds, but as part of our budget discussion, we're talking about adding police officers, which provides enforcement, which we need. But I wonder if we also should be trying to hire our own navigator, somebody who we can say, hey, this is the person that we're directing all these things to. And maybe we put out an RFQ for it or whatever. But because I think in order to get the public to buy in, hey, we want you to do this instead of this, they need to know that there's something that the city is providing, right? That there is help for folks if they want it. Let's see, I thought I had something else, but now it's escaping me. So, as far as you want to go to the one about the pets, was that number 7 or 5 or something? I'm not sure.
I'm the bad guy on this
Pet
one,
license.
just so you guys know.
Yeah. Well, I'll preface this by saying I always thought the idea that you had to license your dog with the city is ridiculous in the first place and maybe it's a state law, I don't know, but most responsible pet owners have no idea that you're supposed to do this. And if you're not a responsible pet owner and you're not getting your dog shots, you're certainly not licensing your pet with the city. So it's like, to me, it's a law that we can't even enforce because we don't know who has a dog and who doesn't have a dog. So I do agree with Councilmember Warba. To me, this seems like this is kind of we're targeting the status of somebody as homeless rather than the behavior that that is not okay for anybody. And so rather than doing this, we already have 2 sections in our municipal code. Chapter 7.04.040 prohibits unleashed dogs in public places except at the dog park, so that can be enforced. Chapter 7.12 is regarding dangerous and vicious animals. So I think we can do those things without going up to somebody and saying, hey, show me your dog is licensed with the city of Folsom.
Okay.
So, thank you.
We'll accept that as a friendly amendment.
Friendly amendment.
Yes, yeah. We have a couple,
I don't think YK is that way.
YK?
I'm going to make it quick.
Okay.
Because I want to repeat quite a few all our colleagues were saying.
Sure.
Especially hiring our own navigator. You know, I like, Sarah's dad, he's listening probably, PIG, P-I-G, he wants to have people, in our town under our control so that either code enforcement or police can give good guidance rather than passing through. One more thing, I know our elect supervisor is here. All the funds are at county. We are paying. And we only get the excuse, but we will talk this with the current supervisor. You have a few homeless in Folsom, hence they shy away from our town. No, we need to put our foot down. I mean, we are talking about the money at the end of the day, besides few minor things here. I think we need to, request through the funding side. We have to make it a little bit hard because all those small business owners came. It's on us to make it happen. And also you recommended, the meeting, because of the Brown Act, all 5 council members can't be in that room that day. I just want to make it. I asked Mayor. Mayor said, no, we'll have these, maybe a couple of more down the road. We would like to invite county.
Okay.
In the future one.
Just as a FYI, when I was mayor last year, Elaine Anderson, our city manager, myself, met with some county staff because for that reason are there services that the county can offer us to be able to help with some of these issues related to homelessness? And sadly, if I remember correctly, Elaine, there's unless you're willing to provide services, which we don't have, but I think at that point, that was at the very beginning of when HEART with the E, H-E-A-R-T, was forming, and they had sent somebody who gave us 4 hours a week at the library. But if you're looking for additional funding I don't know exactly what you would want it for, there just isn't.
It would be, I agree with your summary of the conversation. And it was basically like, number one, you don't meet most of the metrics, required to bring these kind of services in.
Correct.
And number two, if you did manage to kind of jump those hurdles, it needs to be open to anyone they're serving in the county to come into Folsom to use whatever that facility or service is. So, and we did get a lot of commentary about, and even one person on the street is too many, but a lot of commentary about your challenge is 100 or so people, very different from the other cities in the county. So Councilmember Rodriguez and I were pushing a lot, but we got a lot of pushback of that we were not going to get county services or certainly dollars, which was what we were really looking for to rain down upon us.
Yeah.
Just to close my thoughts on that one, yes, we can get it, all those. You heard all of them when we proposed the Y property. Mm-hmm. Majority of them said, why can't we have a mobile service kind of centers? We can push hard on the county, Hey, we have a few cities around here. We don't have to, again, people coming from there, they're coming to help our community. Whosoever is living. Yeah. So I want to bank on bring a county's fair share to our town. Maybe anything we can do in the future meetings.
Very good. Okay, well, we have a public comment from Bruce Klein. Is he still here? Mr. Klein.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Again, Bruce Klein, 34-year resident of Folsom. I can't thank you enough, Mayor and Vice Mayor, for doing that open house. I was there, my wife Julie was there, and incredible community that we have. So one, I would urge you to have, again, like I said before, let this be a starting point. Let's keep the momentum going and utilize the resources of all the very, very smart minds that were in that building that evening. as Councilmember Rohrbach pointed out, we obviously have huge holes in parks, code enforcement, and our police officers that we need to fill for sure. But I applaud you for using innovation on these things that are low-cost items to the extent that you can find available funds to be able to focus on additional help for parks folks and additional help for code enforcement. When I talk to those folks about their ability to respond, it's super challenging. So, two pieces. And again, I would applaud you for utilizing innovation. I also applaud you for doing what the council is supposed to do, and that is articulating the policy that the other departments are supposed to follow. You're articulating the policy that you'd like your police department to do, utilize your resources in these particular ways. So that is exactly what the job of a council member is. Two pieces. I would add outreach to businesses and urge them to talk about the ordinance that you all repealed because of the 602 trespassing provision. Make sure they understand what they can do. Julie has reported several times the business on Wales right by Bidwell where Rayleigh's is. That seems to be an area where people go to all the time and they're constantly camping. Property owners do not have to allow that to occur on their property, and they should know that our police department, our code enforcement people are here to help you and deal with that problem. And the last thing I would say is active and swift addressing of camps. Find some additional funds to the extent you can, and when those camps, as soon as those things get tagged, you know, on the 73rd hour or the 49th hour, get that thing out of there. Because I hear repeatedly, I reported this camp and it's still there 3 weeks later. And if we have to tag them and we have to follow these various provisions, which your city attorney can articulate, well, you know, time's up on the, 49th hour, with the exception of those Jake's Journey Home kinds of things that were addressed that night. If they think that they're making progress with an individual, maybe there's some grace that can be given there. But absent that, let's give the resources to our officers. Let's give our resources to code enforcement and parks to really make an impact. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Well, maybe I can summarize this. As I said at the start, the thing that has come through loud and clear every time we've talked about this issue is that people's primary issue is that they are concerned about their personal safety when there are transients and homeless around. Whether that is just perception or reality, it is reality. And it is well known and been discussed at extreme length that the police department is under stress in terms of how much work that they have to do and the staffing that they have. And we are working in a concerted way, deliberately, to improve the staffing levels at the police department, which will help with these things. None of these suggestions were intended to suggest that the police department does not understand its job at all. They're doing a great job with the resources that they have, and all of these things are well understood and implemented by them. But the public is asking us to make it more plain that we are prioritizing things like this, to make it less comfortable to be homeless in Folsom. So I think the Vice Mayor encapsulated that part of this perfectly. So to the extent that we can find ways to prioritize these 8 things, I think it's a step in the right direction. And to when schedules allow, I would like to continue this as a regular, relatively regular public outreach session. Perhaps YK would like to host that with me at a date down the road, and we can do a second one. And then we'll move around the city and gather everybody's commentary. I will say one last thing, that the folks that did show up for this meeting, the preponderance of them were people that happen to live in District 1 and 2 in and around the City Hall. Or in the historic district, but there were actually people from all parts of Folsom, on hand, and it was, and some people from outside of Folsom, so it was really good dynamic conversation, and all kinds of experience in all kinds of different walks of life. So it was terrific, and we should continue to do that.
Just the one feedback that I can give is there were a lot of questions related to law enforcement. So I think it would be beneficial to bring, whoever is managing or the homeless issue here in the cities, to bring them along, or a police officer, because there were a lot of questions that were like, that came about.
Yeah, listen, none of this is intended to tell the police department how to do their job. It's just asking that they prioritize certain things, with the discretion that they have and the city manager has.
I think the questions that I remember were our current processes. I think people were asking questions about our current processes, and it was, no one in the room was able to answer what we currently do, and so that's my only recommendation.
Got it. Okay.
Or Chief, maybe bring Chief with you.
Sure. Okay, excellent. Any final comments?
Well, so in terms of just direction to the city manager, I think continual enforcement of the municipal code to the extent that we can with the resources we have. But secondly, a public education campaign based on the expertise of Sergeant Grunberg and Chief Hillman and his team, folks like Gene Schumann from Jake's Journey Home, about, here's what helps, here's what is well-intended but is actually counterproductive.
And we have a lot of that information on the police department website, and we've pushed it out before in campaigns, and I think it's time to refresh that for sure.
Okay. And then the third thing, just if my colleagues agree, just following up on a recommendation that I had made at a prior meeting, which Bruce reminded me of, is I do think whatever contact information we have for every business in the city, we do need to make sure that they know that they can have the no trespassing or the trespassing authorization form on file with PD.
So I want to add something too. I've been in conversations with the DA's office several times with several people in the community and in the PD. And one of the things they're willing to help us with, there was a lot of education about what a community prosecutor would do of our own housed in Folsom. And so there's two things that I'm going to say. Is one, I would like to bring back in line with this conversation what that could do to Folsom and how we could incorporate using another city, partnering with another city to offset some of those costs. 3-year contract can clean up a city really well, and get the homeless that need help off the streets and the transients that are doing criminal activity off the streets. So that is something I would like to continue a conversation on that definitely speaks to all of this. But the second thing is, it just went out of my mind, so hold on. It's coming. Does anyone else have to say something? What did you just said? The DA's office is willing to come and do different locales of, like, say, Sutter or Historic District and Central District, 2 different ones, and talk to the business, have a town hall, like, for example, and they'll educate the business owners what they can and cannot do. They'll educate them on if they want to do their own PBID to hire a security officer or things like that. And I forget what it's called, but one of them is the trespassing, to educate the business owners on if they sign a trespassing that they have access, forever. Anyone's that trespassing on their property, they don't need to contact the business owner after that. So that has been very effective, apparently, in other communities. So I think if you guys are open to it, I will reach out to them too, and maybe they can come and speak to the council about putting these things, putting a community town hall or something in place, or I'll speak to the mayor if you're open to this, about what that might look like, as either they come and present to us, or we have a meeting with them and discuss on how we can implement this in those 2 areas, main areas, like you said, District 1 and District 2.
Well, I would suggest to the city manager, maybe you can ask the district attorney to set up maybe a meeting for Ms. Rohrbaugh, you and me,
Sure.
to just kind of hash that out a little bit before we
Yeah, and
bring
it
it
was
back
with
to the
his,
whole
I
council.
mentioned it briefly to Tin Ho when he was here last week, but it was with his office, so I can get those names for you.
Great. And then with regard to community prosecutor, maybe the chief can come back and opine on that at maybe our next meeting or something.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, and it's probably, a community prosecutor or even our own navigator, those are things that would have to be considered as part of the budget process. So maybe
Yeah, I
next
think it
meeting when
would-
we start to talk about those things, we can,
I'll be bringing the budget at the May 28th meeting, and then, as you know, you'll be spending June discussing it, and yes, these could be elements that could be part of it, and Chief and any of our staff are available for questions along those lines.
thank you.
Okay.
One quick one, Mayor.
You're going to get the last word.
Yes, sir. You know, I support Councilman Rodriguez said. Think about an advice. It's not a planning commission kind of body, an advisory group for you. You have seen so many passionate people in that room. It's important. You know, city staff are so super busy, and of course, you and us as well. But at least those passionate people helping a council, especially mayor, get this going. It's a big help, and that's where we can, you know, grow from that. It's an advisory committee for mayor.
I
Mayor
think,
can pick.
I think the point is made even talking about the DA. When I talk about a comprehensive plan, we don't know that we're trying to figure things out, but to be able to tap into a DA is part of that communication of, are we tapping into experts that have knowledge of how to best handle homelessness? And you know, this conversation about, you know, having the DA present, that would be part of it. There are experts out there who could best guide us on how to handle the problem that we're having and how to keep it from getting worse, because we've seen it happen. In the last year, the problem is significantly greater than it was the prior year. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Elaine, is that enough?
That is
commentary
enough.
and thought?
That's enough.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the consent calendar.
Yeah, next is your consent calendar. Is just as a reminder, item number 5 is being continued off calendar.
Excellent. And then can you please actually have a separate vote on item 12? I have
Yes.
a very minor business relationship with BSN Sports, and I'm going to recuse myself from that particular vote.
I'll move items 6 through.
No, I want to pull 6, 9, 11, and 15.
6, 9,
Sorry.
11, and 15.
Yeah.
All right, so.
Rodriguez, number 14.
Oh, my God.
Is
Okay.
Thought this was gonna be a quick meeting.
number 14. And 7, it's a comment for Mark, since we are pull it because he has.
7? You want
Yes,
7
ma'am.
pulled? All right.
Yeah.
So then I will go ahead and move items 8, 10, 13, and 16.
I'll second.
Council members Aquino,
Yes.
Chalem-Chella.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Lorba.
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Awesome.
Okay, let's start with
12.
Yeah, 12.
Yeah, let's start with 12.
I'll move item number 12.
A second.
No, I actually have, yeah, so this is appropriate. This is in alignment with item, this is for Lumby Park.
It is.
And can I ask you, I'm not judge, I'm just curious, why are you live closer?
BSN Sports is the supplier of apparel and equipment
Oh,
to
got
the
it.
school district, and in my role as track coach, I end up
You just
purchasing
feel
things
safer.
from them all the time. So it's like I said, it's a tenuous relationship, but didn't want to.
And I could have asked you that offline, I apologize.
That's okay.
Just
Better
curiosity.
that everyone know.
So item number 12. I think in light of the previous meeting 2 weeks ago, this is $69,000 towards Lemby Park bleachers. The biggest complaint I hear about Lemby Park does not have to do with bleachers. I've never heard that complaint. So I would like to continue this item to when we talk about the budget and priorities, because contingency funds are ongoing funds. They were part of our revenue. And I would like to look at this. There's nothing against replacing the bleachers. And this goes to, I'll take another item. This goes to item number 15 as well. Using the contingency funds for the exhaust fan. It's $23,000. Those add up to close enough to $100,000. I would like to take this as a whole and look at what presented in our budget and look at as a whole what we're looking at, because, you know, we're replacing bleachers at Lemby Park, but just this last week, there was an unopposed request at Parks and Recs Department for future agenda item to determine the process to shut down Castle Park or Kids Play Park. And so I would like to take this, you know, what's the urgency right now? Why can't we wait 2 more weeks or towards the budget discussion to discuss all of this as a whole and what are our priorities. To me, our public has made very clear that their priorities, of course, they can't see the exhaust fan, so that's something that we need to consider. But, you know, and I'm basically for these things. It's just I want to take it as a whole and really look at the priorities of what we're doing with this contingency fund. So I would just like to table this till the budget discussion.
We have a motion and a second on item number 12. Will you please call the roll?
Council members Aquino,
I'm willing to hear from the Parks and Rec director about the bleachers.
Virginia.
Ms. Gonzalez? Thank you.
So this item came to light. Good evening, City Council. My name is Kelly Gonzalez, Parks and Recreation Director, and this came to light. There was a report that there was an accident at Limby Park, and it had to do with the bleachers. The bleachers were from the 1980s and were not up to code. So because of that, we worked with legal, and we did decide that we went ahead and removed those bleachers, and so we're looking to replace that. We do have user groups that use that field, and we want to make sure that we are able to replace those bleachers. But based on recommendations from legal, we were asked to go ahead and remove those bleachers that were aged and outside of the code after the accident did occur, and we were notified of that accident.
Thank you.
Thank you for promptly removing them, you know, to reduce our liability. I think that's great. I mean, it's still, you know, I think that we should replace the bleachers, but I think we should look at it as a whole of what other things, park equipment, those kind of things that we need to replace throughout the entire city and not just one place. That wasn't pretty.
So after removing, it is kind of settled down, or I know to echo what Roba is saying, look at the big picture.
Right, so we have tournaments, that is their primary location, so we want to make sure that we continue to attract those tournaments because that is a large source of revenue. So right now, we've told them that this is temporary and that we do plan to replace those bleachers.
It's settled down because in terms of the safety issue, because we've just taken them away, but we have users that are very dismayed to see the bleachers gone and who pay fees.
And I think in line with that as priority issue is we have users that when the kids' play park closed, they're going to be even more dismayed. So I'm not saying we don't need the bleachers. I'm just saying let's take this holistically. And we have a budget being presented in 2 weeks. So let's look at it as a whole of what we can do with all of the parks and what are the priorities. And if this comes up as the top priority, then great, let's do that as a priority. But we haven't discussed it. So we're discussing it now, but I'm not saying this isn't going to be a priority. I'm just saying we can wait 2 weeks. It's the same principle that was brought up last 2 weeks ago.
Ms. Gonzalez, I have a question. Do you think that the bleachers are a priority at this time as we enter into the season of the summer with sports? Is this one of the highest
that's
priorities?
why we were coming forward with this recommendation. Based on the user groups, we do have people using that location and a number of tournaments that are high profile that choose Folsom because of our facilities.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, any further comment? Okay, please call the roll.
Council members Aquino,
Yes.
Chalem Chella,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Rohrbaugh.
No.
Okay, the motion passes 3-1.
Thank you.
Okay, so what do we have remaining to discuss? Which items?
Oh, most everything. We'll start with item number 6, which is resolution number 11190, a resolution accepting a grant from SACOG and appropriation of funds for the roundabout policy and feasibility study. Project number as identified.
Mentioned earlier by Mr. Rackavan.
This is very similar, meaning in light of the conversations we've had over this entire last year and a half about budget deficits and structural deficits, and in light of the tax incentives, my question is, can we delay this for the budget discussion? Because it's $51,000 that we're matching for the study. And that's $51,000 a week. And I had asked a question, thank you, Mark, for your answer, about what Measure A funds could be used for. So we can, $51,000 is what we would take out of the Measure M funds, which can be used for a lot of things that will directly impact our residents now, potholes, things like that, right? Like
Councilmember Rohrbaugh, just for clarification, The Sacramento Transportation Authority has a program called their Smart Growth Incentive Program, which just on Thursday, myself and my engineering manager, Ryan Chance, attended their board meeting. They recommended that STA fund our local match for this particular project. So
Really?
STA will be funding the 51,000, whatever it is, and the board did adopt that recommendation.
Awesome. So that happens after we fund it and then they'll reimburse?
That's correct.
Well, why didn't you lead with that? That's awesome.
I wasn't aware that it was going to be an issue, ma'am.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I mean, it is, I track the budget, as you know, so that's great. So that one's done. So we can I make a motion to pass item 6.
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem Chella?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
And Kozlowski?
Yes.
Okay, next is item number 9, resolution number 11193. This is a resolution authorizing the city manager to appropriate funds for the local early action planning grant for additional permit center expenditures.
So will this be another one that just gets funded? That would be amazing. So actually it is, right? So this item is 52,000. All my question is, why aren't we waiting until it's reimbursed into the general fund before we reimburse your operating budget? And
Councilmember Rohrbaugh, the expenses have already been incurred and they just weren't set aside they weren't already appropriated. So the money's been spent, the reimbursement's been requested, the money will come back and just go back to the same pot it came from.
that's my understanding what was read, but the general fund hasn't received those grant monies yet. Is that correct?
Yes, it happens generally within 30 to 60 days.
So my question is, why are we taking out of the general fund until when the money is in the general fund, and then we will reappropriate the funds to the operating budget?
Councilmember Rohrbaugh, this is just an administrative action that we wanted the Community Development Department to take because they don't have an appropriation for this grant. So it's looking like they're over budget, although you already had approved this grant. So we just needed the council to approve this to bring up the revenue projection and the expenditure side so that they're in alignment with what had already been approved with this grant.
So then thank you. And then my request would be when Elaine presents the budget, can you make sure that 52,000 that will be reduced in the general fund for 30 days, that is also spoken to? Because you're taking it out of the general fund to put it in the operating fund, but we're waiting for a grant to reimburse the general fund, correct?
No, what we're doing is, maybe this will help in the quarterly report when you say that we have our original budget and then it will have an adjustment to the budget, and so then you have your current budget. This is an adjustment because you did approve this grant already, so that means that we have revenue coming in.
So that will be seen.
So that would be seen.
Okay.
In this current fiscal year. So this is not going to affect the upcoming budget process at all. It's just to true up this year's budget so that when I do bring that to you and say, this is your original budget, this is your amended budget, it's for things like this, so you can see exactly what it was for, and then you have your current budget.
Perfect, thank you. Just making sure that we have transparency. So I'll make a motion to pass item number 9.
I'll second.
Councilmembers Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem Chella?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
And Kozlowski?
Yes.
And just so that you know, number 7 was also pulled.
Oh, sorry. Item number 7, resolution number 11191. This is resolution adopting a list of projects for fiscal year 24-25 to be funded by SB 1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act.
Right. Mark, this is easy one. I know we are listing 4 or 5 streets right now on the pavement overlay management plan. I'm sure we have a much bigger list than that one. So is that somewhere available on the website? We want to make sure public aware, hey, we are going by the priority. We are going to address those ones, and when people talk about the funding and sales tax, they have to see the real problem in front of City of Folsom. So it's a big list.
Councilmember Chalem Chella, our pavement management program is available on the Public Works website and contains tens and tens of millions of dollars of deferred maintenance for the public to view.
Right. My specific question is 2026, 2027 plan. You may already know which 5, 6, 7 streets you are going to overlay.
I would have to check with Mr. Chance to see if he's already programmed or planned those projects yet.
That's my question, because we want to convince or tell the residents, hey, they're being addressed, otherwise they're going to be. Okay, thank you.
I'll move adoption of resolution number 11191.
A second. Oh, go ahead.
Council members Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Chella?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbach?
Yes.
And Kozlowski?
Yes.
Okay, item number 11, resolution number 11195. This is a resolution accepting the award of American Rescue Plan Act funds from the county for the HVAC replacement and upgrade projects at the Folsom Community Center, the Folsom Senior and Arts Center, and appropriation of funds.
So this funding was for $1.2 million for two good projects, but I want to know what else was considered and who determined these as a priority.
I think it was the council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Liz Voggy, your Senior Management Analyst with Parks and Recreation. So Sue Frost-Stavis from the County Supervisor, she approached us to specifically allocate ARPA funds to Parks and Recreation divisions within her area. And we approached her, there were certain criteria that had to be met to qualify to be a subrecipient for the ARPA funds. So it had to follow certain demographic distribution and under certain expenditure criteria. And we originally had approached her to see if they would accept like a park renovation or a bathroom renovation of one of our parks. And unfortunately, we did not meet the demographic distribution for that. So we had to approach it from a different angle, and that fell under COVID mitigation. Because we are not a disproportionately impacted community. So we suggested the HVAC replacement at the senior center. That is one that caught on fire last year, so it was a really essential upgrade that's needed. And then the one over at the community center also has, I believe it's 6 units that have been abandoned, and it's not an efficient system at all, and it really requires a lot of manpower to upgrade. So as far to operate efficiently. So we approached it from the COVID angle, and those were two projects that really met their criteria.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I appreciate hearing that you did suggest some other projects that, the community or the Parks and Rec Department would have wanted as well. So thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it.
No problem.
I don't have the resolution in front of me. Item number 11.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Council members Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Chella?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbach?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Okay, item 14, resolution number 11198. This is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute amendment number 1 to the agreement with Capra Enviro Services Corp. for the managed grazing services within the city of Folsom.
We want to discuss goats?
I did. Okay. I want to discuss the goats.
Aren't they cute?
They are. They come nearby my house. I love those ones. We want those ones. It helps our fire department, tremendously. My only thing is, following the process, Mayor and Vice Mayor, when you see this one, you guys have done all the right things. I'm sure you have guys gone through the evaluation, but that evaluation is not visible here. You send the procurement or whatever that solicitation to 3 vendors, they responded, and you have a scoring criteria evaluated. There is a cost also. None of that is clear to the transparency, or at least to me. We finally getting into, we are awarding this one for $271,000. So bringing those evaluations and showing the cost where it is, it helps. Unless...
All right, good evening.
Thank you.
Jameson Larson, Municipal Landscape Supervisor. So we did do an evaluation. This is an amendment to an existing contract. So the original evaluation was in that original contract. So we did have 3 different bidders on this contract when we bid it in, I believe, 2021. And we had price as 25% of our criteria. Relevant experience is 25% of the criteria. 30% was the ability to complete the work within the allowable time frame, which is basically
Number of goats?
Number of goats. It's the last rain to June 1st. And with 560 acres to do, that's the most important part of this job, is making sure it's done in that compressed timeline. And then 20% was project understanding. And yeah, we'll make sure in the future that we have that.
Just plug in there. That way it's, crystal clear. No one is going to... I got it, but thank you. You understand my point. Not just for me. There are so many other people reading these ones. Thank you.
Jameson.
So I have something on this. So it's saying that 141,000 of this is going to be appropriated in the 24-25 budget. But what we heard 2 weeks ago is that this council, we as a council, don't want to stronghold ourselves into a 24-25 budget item without looking at the entire budget and seeing what's there. So, I guess my question to the council is this something that you're willing to put off to have a discussion with the council as a whole after we are presented the budget, as was suggested and implemented 2 weeks ago?
City Attorney, is this allowed? I know the budget is not approved yet, but a few things has to happen, but...
The council can determine whether to take action on this item or not tonight.
Okay, why are we
So 2 weeks
forward
ago,
purchasing goat services in a future year for this year? If I may ask.
It's a great question. So the grazing process takes place over the budget year. So it takes place through June, in some areas into August. So the way we do our grazing, because we have 560 acres to do in such a compressed timeline, we start with grazing the least hazardous areas. And if we get a late rain, like we did just a couple weeks ago, and then had 90 degrees a few days following, we get a regrowth, and those areas get regrazed in next fiscal year. So this is anticipating that we're going to be doing those regrazed areas as well and getting all of that fire protection done, even though it crosses over a fiscal year.
Gotcha. And is this typical and happens every summer?
It does happen every summer, and it's just the way, the time at which we got the original contract put into place it was in line with the calendar year rather than, or the budget year rather than the actual fire hazard.
Got it.
is there something that would prevent us waiting until in 2 weeks?
The grazing's taking place currently, so if we don't adopt it and have it in place by June when it needs to be in place, then we'd have to stop grazing and those hazards would.
So we have till June.
Yeah, you have till
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but okay.
We have till June 1st, or we have till July 1st? So those are dramatically different things, grazing time-wise.
Yeah, so June 1st is the fire code. July 1st is when you have 560 acres is the absolute last day that we will allow them to have to get that grazing done. And just of note, the general fund is only 74,000 of that cost. The rest is budgeted in special districts.
So I have a question about that. So 24,000 is the general fund for the 23-25 year. And it said there was my understanding in the agenda packet was there's no appropriation for this year. So is that already funded for this year?
Yes, so that funding is available in the municipal landscapes budget for open space and maintenance. And so that's already within our budget.
So what we're really approving is 74,000 in the general fund budget, 141,000.
Yes, the 74,000 for the.
I stopped talking. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to articulate. Yes. Thank you for filling in for me.
This is a multi-year contract.
Right. Yeah.
And we're just doing an extension. The contract allows for extensions, and we're exercising the final extension before the next time we'll have to go out for an RFP again.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Amendment, yeah. Knowing the danger on the fire and our procurement process under 2 weeks or 4 weeks of, what's your gut feel? I know, I want to make sure. I rather want to wing on this one because city attorney says it's on the council, even though it is not approved budget.
What's the grazing season? How many weeks is it?
It depends. Generally, it's from the last rain. However, we started in mid-March
Okay.
with the areas south of 50 in particular. And those will be the areas that get regrazed.
So maybe 16 weeks, something
About
like that.
16 weeks, that sounds.
Okay, so at 560 acres, we're talking about something approaching 50 acres a week that has to
Yeah,
be
they
done.
do, one herd will do an acre a day.
Okay.
And so I think we have 6 or 7 herds in the city.
All right, gotcha. Okay. So we'd be kicking down the road quite a lot of grazing.
I know,
Okay, potentially.
potentially, right?
All right, council, somebody's got to make a move here.
I'll go ahead and move resolution 11198.
Second.
Okay, please call the roll.
Council members Aquino.
Yes.
Chalem Chella.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rohrbaugh.
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item 15, I believe, is the
I'll
last
just
one.
go ahead and move item 15.
I'll second.
Okay.
Council members Aquino.
Yes.
Chalem Chella.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rohrbaugh.
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Yes.
All right, next is your public hearing item. This is scheduled to be continued to May 28th, but we will need a motion for continuance.
I'll move to continue the public hearing to May 28th.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay.
Council members Aquino.
Yes.
Chalem Chella.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rohrbaugh. Yes. Kozlowski.
Yes. Okay, new business.
New business, item number 18. This is ordinance number 1344. This is an ordinance amending sections as identified and repealing other sections as identified of the code. This will be introduction and first reading, which has been continued for April 23rd. This is also determination that the project is exempt from CEQA.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Kozlowski and Council. I am Josh Kincaid with the Community Development Department, and tonight I'll be presenting some proposed changes to sections within Chapter 3.50 of the Folsom Municipal Code. Excuse me. So Chapter 3.50 is titled Fee and Service Change Revenue and Cost Comparison System. The code states that the intent of the chapter is to ascertain what services the city will have fees for, what the recovery of costs for these fees should be, meaning what percentage of costs should be accounted for in an individual fee, and how often this list of services and fee rates should be reviewed by council. The chapter states that the list of fees and percentage of cost recovery were determined by a cost control study that was performed by a consultant for the city in 1987. Since that time, new laws have gone into effect that have given cities further guidance about fees not exceeding 100% cost recovery and the need for a reasonable relationship between the cost of work and the fee itself. Staff found that the list of services in Chapter 3.50 does not reflect the current services that the city provides, that the cost recovery for each of these fees may be out of date as well, and that the review schedule for these fees was no longer practical. City departments have regularly updated their fee schedules with council approval, and those fees are often based on studies that are done specifically for that department's fees rather than relying on the services and cost recoveries shown specifically in Chapter 3.50. So staff is recommending modifications to this chapter of the code to reflect more up-to-date practices. Those modifications include removal of the outdated list of fees and services and percentage of cost recovery for each fee type, as each department has their own individual fee schedule that was approved by council and that has all this information in a more up-to-date version. We've instead provided language in the code that states that 100% cost recovery should generally be sought, but that a lower percentage may be warranted by council for reasons such as a community benefit or economic development, for example. We've also proposed that the frequency of specific fee reviews and updates be at the discretion of the council and the city manager, rather than being mandated to occur on a seasonal, biannual, or annual basis, as what's currently stated in the code, as those goals have not been terribly useful in practice. So looking at the effects of some of these proposed changes, the code would now establish guidelines for all future fee changes as each department updates and modifies their own fee schedules individually. It would encourage full cost recovery for fees while allowing for flexibility for council to determine if certain fees should be lowered and why. It also gives discretion back to council and the city manager in determining the frequency of how the fee schedules for each department are reviewed. And finally, we believe that these changes would put Folsom in line with other jurisdictions. In our research of the region, including Roseville, Rockland, Rancho Cordova, and Elk Grove, as well as other jurisdictions around the state that had chapters that were very similar to Chapter 3.50, none that we could find listed every service, the cost recovery percentage, and frequency of review like our code currently does. So those changes would be consistent with what we believe is the industry standard. So looking ahead after tonight's first reading, you'll be doing a second reading and voting on whether to adopt the changes in Chapter 3.50 on the May 28th meeting is what we have scheduled. If passed, those changes would go into effect on June 27th. And I'll note that for the Community Development Department specifically, we did ask, as you saw with the previous item, that the building and engineering fee schedules be continued to the meeting on May 28th. To reconfigure how the technology fee that we've discussed is being implemented, and to meet the state requirements for how for having the newly proposed fees available to the public for 10 days before the hearing. The planning fees themselves are being held off to coincide with proposed process changes as part of the comprehensive zoning code update. So with that, I can take questions about the proposed updates. Thank you.
Council members? Any questions? No? Anna?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, any public comment?
Nope.
Then I will move the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 1344.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Chella?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Lorba?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
All right, your final discussion item this night is new business, item number 19. This is ordinance number 1345. This is an ordinance amending sections as identified on the agenda pertaining to billing for municipal utility services. This will be introduction and first reading of the ordinance.
Mayor, Council, I am Elizabeth Hanna, the Revenue Services Supervisor. So I will be reviewing ordinance 1345. And section 3.20.020 of our code allows for customers to submit a written request for a vacancy status for municipal utility services. Currently, this exception is only applicable for solid waste services, and the exception is also referenced in 8.32.140A2. So in 8.32.140A1, it also states that the property owner of each and every dwelling, house, or residence shall be responsible for paying to the city a fixed minimum solid waste fee, which applies and is payable without consideration of whether there is any garbage, recyclables, or organic waste to remove from the premises. So the Revenue Division, along with the Recycling and Solid Waste Division, recommend removing the option for a vacancy exemption from, or exception from 3.20.020 and 8.32.140A2. So we also recommend adding language to 3.20.063 for consistency to state that monthly municipal service charges are applicable and payable in accordance with the city council approved rate schedules, regardless of the occupancy status of the property. So that's regarding vacancy. And then since we're making changes, I'm also requesting that we update 3.20.020 to replace that with clarification regarding the billing start date for new construction and transfer and ownership of existing structures. So our existing policy and procedure for the start date of billing owners for municipal services, this has been what we've done for 10 plus years. I'm just asking that we codify it to make it very clear for our customers who have some questions sometimes regarding start dates for billing services.
Excellent. That seems all very straightforward.
Yes.
All right. Any questions from the council?
No. I don't have any questions that are pertinent to passing this, but I know, Pam, that you mentioned something in a meeting we had a week or two ago. And so I'm curious, do you know with these two motions and how much more revenue we can expect within a year of implementing this? Do you have any idea?
So
These
this
users?
is for utility billing, so this is after community development. This is just for monthly.
Yeah, that would
Right, and
go
I guess
into
it was-
our enterprise funds.
It would be for enterprise funds, and it'd be maybe $8,000. So it only affects about 24 customers a year that
Okay.
request a vacancy.
And then the previous item?
The ordinance amendment doesn't have an effect on, revenues. The number that we had provided at a previous meeting for the community development fees overall was about 1.1 million annually.
and that's the number I had in
With, but we're only taking half of that forward at your next meeting, so.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
There you go. Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and move
I'm
ordinance.
sorry, is there any public comment?
Nope.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and move ordinance 1345.
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Aquino.
Yes.
Chalem-Chierla.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rohrbach.
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Yes. Okay, council members, any additional requests for future agenda items? Ms. Rodriguez.
I don't have any.
Okay, Ms. Rohrbach?
I think I think you got it
I've
with
got
the
those
last,
down.
yeah, perfect.
Okay, very good. YK? Sarah? Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. As was mentioned earlier, the City of Folsom has received confirmation from the Sacramento County Voter Registration and Elections Office that the Folsom Residents' Public Safety and Quality of Life Initiative petition has qualified for the November 24 ballot. At its May 28th meeting, the City Council will consider a resolution to formally place the measure on the November 2024 election ballot as required by law. City Works Day is tomorrow. You can hop into the cab of a Folsom garbage truck, climb aboard a fire engine, make it rain on a stormwater table, and participate in other fun interactive activities. The popular and free annual event is designed to encourage residents to discover and learn about the City of Folsom's wide variety of public services, and you can find out more at folsom.ca.us/City Works Day. And the Aquatic Center's summer season begins May 25th for daily recreation swim from 1 to 5 p.m. through September 2nd. Guests can enjoy all the great amenities, the interactive play structure, our 2-story water slide, diving boards, 3 pools, and the giant inflatable obstacle courses, which requires a $4 wristband. And the trained lifeguarding staff, some of whom you saw earlier, are always on duty during recreation swim. And then also mentioned another item earlier today, dry vegetation can create fire hazards during hot summer months. Folsom has more than 980 acres of city-owned open space, and nearly all of it is weed abated to achieve the required fire safety interface between residential structures and open spaces. View the weed abatement schedule on the city's website if you want to learn more. And then, Mayor, I would like to ask that we adjourn the meeting in honor and memory of City of Folsom retiree Kent Gary, and I will turn that over to Mark Rackavan at that time, if you agree.
I would be delighted to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, council comments. Ms. Rodriguez.
Well, I just want to encourage and remind people that we're about to enter this budget conversations, and I encourage people to get involved and share your feedback on what you believe that we should be focusing on. It is really a fun time. I mean, it's exhausting, but it really is a fun time, and it's great to be involved in how the city spends its money. That's it.
I just want to articulate, because I don't think I did a good enough job of it. I do appreciate the listening session that you and Councilmember Aquino, the mayor and Councilmember Aquino facilitated. I think that's important. The more residents can feel heard, which I got feedback from some of them, they did feel like there was a lot of listening going on. So even though I had some suggestions, which you did ask for, I do want to articulate that. I do appreciate that you guys putting forth that effort and then continuing the process as we go forward. So thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
That's right.
YK?
Yes, sir. I'll run through this quick. One more time, CAPS volunteers, we were all talking about it, over a good number. I came a little late, but again, congratulations to all CAPS volunteers. Chief, please pass them through Jessica as well. And the other big one, Vice Mayor Aquino joined on the Qualcomm ribbon cutting. It's a gigantic multi-billion-dollar technology company. Now they found a home in Folsom. So it's a good start of little over 100 people or 140 people, whatever that number. But at least the technology, which we have been talking with the chamber, local, as well as a Greater Sacramento Economic Council, at least we have 6 of the big multi-billion-dollar industries are in Folsom, including Samsung. Few months ago, that's a big achievement for Folsom. We got to, thank everyone who involved on that one. And the other one, I enjoyed the I Love My Mom race. Thank you again for Parks and Rec team. I think Tom was here. Maybe pass that one. Kelly, for all your team members. But I request, is there any way we can continue that race? And rightfully, we were talking, few brainstorming things, how we can bring south of 50 into inclusiveness by hosting some events. Hopefully by next year, we will have the park ready, grand opening, if not fire station, or another school is ready. Think about it, even though we have some restrictions with the Palladio. We can't continue hosting there. But south of 50 is going to be a great place to bring the community together. It is one Folsom. And the last one, I know I was driving to Bay Area, to Sacramento for a couple of times. Mark, maybe this is for you or Jack Bosch. You guys may be doing already everything. At 4 o'clock on East Bidwell exit from 50, oh my God. People are now seeing it's like a Sunrise Boulevard exit. Just like, I was observing, I put my technology brain, how long that green light, red light, anything we can do, some synchronization by talking to our Caltrans friends. Think about it. We can solve, at least we can bring them inside Folsom. That way, the 50 corridor won't think we are another Sunrise Boulevard. So just passing, my own experience on that one. The last one is, I said last one before. Powerhouse Ministries graduation. That's another wonderful. One thing really struck me. To graduate one woman, 4 people graduated. They all have jobs. They are moving into their own apartments. They are no longer a burden for our community, relying on homeless or other thing. $15,000 per year per person. That opened my eyes. Man, 15,000. That's not the way we are spending at the state budget. If we all know the numbers, $20 billion, last 5 years, we are spending over 40,000, 50,000 per person per year. Going nowhere. I just want to bring this one. I want to thank the Powerhouse Ministries, even though they are a faith-based organization, but they're still driving with the help of this community. Thank you, Powerhouse Ministries. At least reducing 4 homeless in this town. Thank you. Good night.
Because of the late hour at the last meeting, I didn't get to report out, but I attended the Metro Chamber's Cap to Cap program in Washington, D.C., April 13th to the 17th on behalf of the city. I was part of the air quality team. And so we met with our congressional representatives, Department of Transportation, the Environmental Protection Agency, advocating for this region's CPRG grant, which is the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant application, which is funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. If the region is successful in getting that $94 million application approved, it would mean about $3.5 million for the city for drainage infrastructure improvements to the central business district. So kind of going along with what we talked about today. I also represent the city on the board for Sac Sewer. And that board recently approved an increase to the fees. So when you get your city utility bill, there is a line item on there for Sac Sewer because they obviously treat the sewage that the city collects. So currently that monthly rate is $37 going on July 1st to $40.50, July 1st, 2025 to $44, and then effective July 1st, 2026 to $47. And that's mostly because of labor costs, energy cost increase, chemical costs increase, all that kind of stuff. Want to congratulate Chief Hillman and his team. If you didn't go to the motorcycle challenge, it was a fantastic event out at Lakeside Church. Really, really neat to see officers from around the state not only show off their skills, but test their skills. I thought it was fantastic, and hopefully we can continue to host that event in the future. And then just finally, Krista, shout out to Jennifer and Christina in your office. They got baptism by fire while you were gone. They had to deal with a ballot measure, marathon city council meeting, an important agenda update for the last council meeting. So anyway, they did a great job in your absence. So thank you.
100% true. Okay, I'll be quick. I also was on the Cap to Cap trip to Washington and on the Transportation Committee, and we met with all of our local congressional delegation, and one of the projects that the entire group was advocating for was funding for our exchanges here in Folsom. So that is a top regional priority for the chamber, the Sacramento Regional Chamber of Commerce. Just so you don't think I only ever talk about my own track team, which happened to win the section championship on Thursday while the Caps graduation was going on. I had to be there. The boys from Vista Del Lago are the division champions for D3 for the Sac Joaquin section, which contains about 36 schools. So they're the best at that. But so you don't think I only talk about my own team, right this minute, the two fastest 4x4 boys teams in the entire section, all 210 high schools, happen to be from Vista Del Lago. Wow. And Folsom High. So there's a lot of fast kids here in town. I had the really delightful pleasure to be the guest of honor, I guess, for the Bengali New Year celebration that happened at the community center 2 Saturdays ago. And it is delightful, and the food is amazing. And everybody should take the time to go to that when it comes up next year. It's really, really fun. Not for nothing, but the rodeo and the hometown parade are right around the corner. So make sure you get tickets if you want to go to the rodeo, because they do sell out in advance. That's all I have
Mayor,
for tonight.
Can I add something before you say goodnight?
You've got to do it really quickly.
Well, tomorrow is Peace Officers Memorial Day, and I should have thought about mentioning it before, so I'm sorry to usurp your. But Peace Officers Memorial Day is held annually in the United States on May 15th in honor of federal, state, and local officers killed or disabled in the line of duty. It is observed in conjunction with Police Week. So I just want to acknowledge that for those listening too. Give a shout out to anyone of service, and thank you for all the work that our public safety does in our departments too.
Hear, hear. Second. Mark, could you tell us a little bit about Kent Gary, and then we will hold this meeting closed in his honor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. So we staff appreciates you honoring our request to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Kent Gary, who passed away last month at the age of 67. Kent was an employee of the Public Works Department from 1994 until his retirement in 2016. During that time, Kent served as supervisor of the Folsom Stage Lines, which was our transit division at the time, and it was widely considered one of the most successful, best-run small transit agencies in this region, possibly even in the state. Kent's exceptional management skills led to him being promoted to section manager in 2010. Adding fleet and solid waste divisions to his transit role at a very difficult financial time for the city. Kent excelled in this role as well and was named Manager of the Year by the American Public Works Association in 2014. Kent's affable good nature and leadership skills were most evident in his ability to maintain employee morale and productivity in stressful times, and a degree of respect with which he treated both his staff and his peers. Those traits, it's safe to say, influenced his staff and coworkers, some of whom would also go on to leadership roles here in the city, myself included. Your general services manager, I think I could speak for her as well. So in that sense, Kent has left a lasting legacy with the Public Works Department and the city of Folsom. And again, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, very good. We are adjourned.